For millennia, humanity has uncovered objects and structures that defy explanation, challenging our understanding of history and technology. From colossal stone heads staring silently across ancient landscapes to intricate devices whose purpose seems centuries ahead of their time, these discoveries whisper of civilizations whose knowledge we can barely imagine. Some lie buried beneath deserts or oceans, while others have surfaced only to deepen our questions. What drove people to carve, construct, or encode such marvels? How much have we truly uncovered, and how much remains hidden? Prepare to explore the most baffling ancient discoveries, each one a puzzle that science still struggles to explain, a glimpse into a past that continues to provoke wonder and curiosity. The hidden discoveries inside the Great Pyramid, Egypt. The Great Pyramid of Giza rises out of the desert like a frozen heartbeat from another age. Silent, monumental, and endlessly defiant of time. For more than 4,000 years, it has watched over the shifting sands and the countless civilizations that came and went beneath its shadow. It was built, so we're told, as the final resting place of Pharaoh Khufu, a tomb to honor a god-king. Yet, the deeper scientists look into its stone heart, the more it seems to guard secrets no burial monument should contain. In the 21st century, researchers returned to the pyramid armed not with chisels or torches, but with cosmic rays. Using advanced muon scanners, a technology that can peer through solid rock, teams from around the world set out to map the interior without touching a single block. What they found stunned even the most skeptical minds. Hidden chambers sealed away for millennia, unreachable, unrecorded, and invisible to the naked eye. One void, nearly 30 meters long, lies above the Grand Gallery, a space large enough to hold an airplane. Another, smaller cavity rests just behind the pyramid's northern face, its purpose utterly unknown. No hieroglyphic text mentions them. No ancient record describes their construction. They are silent spaces in a monument already saturated with mystery. When the Scan Pyramids project began in 2015, it united teams from Japan, France, and Egypt under a single, almost impossible goal: to see inside the Great Pyramid without disturbing a single grain of its sand-laden air. Led by physicist Kunihiro Morishima and engineer Mehdi Tayyubi, the team deployed muon detectors, devices capable of tracing cosmic particles as they pass through solid matter, to create an interior map of density variations. The first readings came as faint shadows on film, suggesting cavities where no architect had planned any. But the claim was so astonishing that other institutions repeated the experiment. Each independent result confirmed the same truth. The pyramid's inner design was not yet fully known, and perhaps never had been. At first, skeptics claimed the scans might have been errors, false readings caused by shifts in the stone, but further tests confirmed their existence. The thermal signatures of the blocks above the king's chamber glowed with anomalous heat, suggesting air pockets or even hidden materials within. For centuries, explorers crawled through every known passage of this structure, yet these secret voids remained untouched, as though the pyramid itself wished to keep its last secrets buried. The Great Pyramid was built with over 2 million limestone blocks, each weighing several tons, arranged so precisely that even modern engineers debate how it was done. But if these new chambers were deliberately hidden, the implications are profound. Who sealed them, and why? Some Egyptologists believe they might be relieving chambers, designed to reduce pressure on the inner passages. Others whisper of a lost burial vault, perhaps the real resting place of Khufu, still untouched by time. Yet ancient legends tell a different story. Arabic texts from 1,000 years ago speak of the pyramids as storehouses of forbidden knowledge, places where the wisdom of pre-flood civilizations was hidden before the world was remade. Al-Makrizi, a medieval historian, wrote that the pyramids contained maps of the heavens, metals that never rusted, and writings of unimaginable power. To the rational mind, these were myths, yet the discovery of sealed spaces exactly where no one expected them has reignited old questions once dismissed as superstition. Inside the Grand Gallery, where the air is still and thin, every footstep echoes like a pulse from another world. The stones fit together so seamlessly that a sheet of paper cannot pass between them. And somewhere beyond those walls lies the unknown, a void untouched since the dawn of history. Scientists are cautious, unwilling to drill or force entry until technology allows them to explore without destruction. For now, the chambers remain sealed, their silence louder than any discovery. Each new scan adds another layer of strangeness. In 2023, refined imaging revealed faint geometric alignments, pathways that seem to connect the hidden voids in ways that defy the pyramid's known architecture. Some researchers wonder if these alignments are symbolic, pointing toward the stars, echoing the ancient Egyptian belief that the soul of the pharaoh ascended to Orion. Others suspect we're seeing something else entirely, a design based on knowledge long forgotten. Even the construction methods themselves remain a puzzle. Recent studies of the quarry sites along the Nile suggest that some blocks were transported using sleds lubricated with water, a technique that reduces friction and allows tons of limestone to glide over sand. Yet this does not fully explain the placement of the largest granite beams, each weighing upwards of 70 tons, brought from Aswan more than 800 kilometers away. How workers aligned these massive stones with such millimeter precision while maintaining the pyramid's flawless geometry remains an enigma that challenges both historians and engineers alike. Further measurements revealed subtler phenomena still. Inside the king's chamber, engineers recorded electromagnetic patterns that seemed to cluster along the granite walls, resonating faintly at specific frequencies, as though the stone itself absorbed and released energy and rhythm with the Earth's field. Acoustic specialists later noted that certain tones hummed through the chamber in long, sustained vibrations that modern instruments could measure but not fully explain. The precision of the pyramid's alignment to true north, off by less than 1/15 of a degree, only deepened the enigma, hinting that its builders understood principles of geometry and orientation far beyond what recorded history allows. The paradox of the Great Pyramid endures, a monument supposedly built for death, yet it behaves like something alive. It responds to temperature shifts, resonates with subtle vibrations, and hums with low frequencies that modern sensors can measure but not explain. It stands not as a relic of the past, but as an engine of enigma, reminding us that the line between ancient craftsmanship and ancient mystery may be thinner than we ever imagined. And beneath the desert sun, the stone still breathes secrets no one has yet heard. The Nazca, Peru. The desert stretches endlessly across southern Peru, a vast, rust-coloured ocean frozen in silence. There is no wind here, no shade, and almost no rain. Yet carved into this desolate plain lies a message so immense that it can only be read from the sky. Across nearly 50 miles of barren earth, hundreds of enormous figures, spirals, animals, straight lines that cut like scars, are etched into the ground with impossible precision. In recent years, high-resolution mapping has revealed that many of these lines converge toward ancient water sources and ritual sites buried beneath layers of sediment, suggesting a deeper environmental or spiritual purpose than once believed. Archaeologists discovered remnants of wooden stakes at several junctions, markers that may have guided construction, but carbon dating showed they were reused across centuries, implying that the Nazca repeatedly redrew or expanded older designs. This continuity hints at a long-standing ritual tradition, rather than a single event, yet no record explains what compelled generations to sustain such immense effort across an unforgiving desert. From the ground, they are nothing more than shallow furrows in the gravel, but from above they take shape. A monkey with a curling tail, a hummingbird poised in flight, a spider with delicate limbs stretching more than 100 feet wide. For centuries, no one even knew they existed. The Nazca lines lay hidden in plain sight, preserved by the desert's stillness, until aircraft first soared over the region in the 1920s, and pilots saw something that defied reason, an entire landscape transformed into a map no human on the ground could read. Archaeologists have since traced the lines to the ancient Nazca culture, which flourished nearly 2,000 years ago. The people who made them left no written records, no surviving stories to explain their purpose. Yet they moved mountains, quite literally, clearing the top layer of dark pebbles to reveal the pale sand beneath, creating images that would endure for millennia. The precision is uncanny. Straight lines run unbroken for miles, intersecting at geometric angles so exact that even modern surveyors struggle to replicate them by hand. Some believe they were ritual pathways meant to be walked during ceremonies to call down the gods of rain. Others see them as astronomical alignments, pointing towards solstices and star constellations. a vast open-air calendar written across the desert. But some patterns break these theories apart. Figures appear where no celestial event occurs, and animals long extinct in the region are drawn with anatomical accuracy. The deeper researchers look, the less the patterns seem random, and the more they feel like communication. Even more baffling is how the Nazca achieved such precision without aerial perspective or modern surveying tools. Experiments suggest they may have used simple ropes, stakes, and sight lines, yet this still fails to explain lines that stretch for miles without deviation, or massive figures drawn with geometric exactness. Soil analysis also shows that the removed pebbles were carefully selected to create contrast, some hardened by deliberate chemical treatment to withstand erosion. Every detail points to an understanding of scale, measurement, and durability that seems far ahead of its time, leaving scholars to wonder whether unseen techniques, or knowledge now lost, guided their hands. In the 1970s, mathematician Maria Ricci dedicated her life to the mystery, measuring every line and angle under the punishing sun. She found astronomical logic in their placement, but even she admitted that the precision seemed beyond human reach for a civilization without aerial perspective. She died still wondering how people who had never seen flight could design art visible only from above. Today, satellites scan every inch of the Nazca Plateau, revealing even more lines beneath centuries of shifting dust. Shapes of whales, serpents, and humanoid figures newly unearthed. But for every discovery, the riddle only deepens. There is no sign of tools, no staging marks, no evidence of trial and error. The ancient builders made no mistakes. It's as though they followed instructions they understood perfectly, and then disappeared, leaving behind the script but not the language. As if guarding its own mystery, the desert's unbroken dryness has kept the lines intact for nearly 2,000 years. A single heavy rainfall could erase them, yet the sky has refused for centuries to send one. The climate here is so precise in its stillness that even footprints can last for decades, and so the lines endure, suspended in time, untouched by both nature and man. Then came a strange modern echo. In 2014, scientists using drones discovered new figures hidden beneath the sand, so faint they can only be seen with infrared imaging. They don't fit the traditional Nazca style. Some appear older, others newer. This revelation shattered the idea of a single unified purpose. Were the lines drawn over generations, evolving as beliefs changed? Or were they part of something vaster, a project whose meaning we've never truly glimpsed? Standing at ground level, all you see is dust and distance. Nothing makes sense until you rise above it, until you see the forms in their entirety. But even from the sky, the meaning stays just out of reach, as if the desert allows us to see the question but not the answer. The more technology we bring, the more the mystery multiplies, slipping between the data like heat haze. Every culture leaves a record of what it worships. The Nazca left theirs on the face of the earth itself, but they seem to have written it not for gods, not for men, but for something looking down. Even now, the lines emit faint magnetic anomalies detectable by instruments flown overhead, their outlines registering slight shifts in temperature at dawn and dusk, as if the ground itself still reacts to unseen patterns of heat and magnetism. Geologists cannot account for the consistency of these readings across figures separated by miles, nor for the subtle reflective quality of the pale sand that makes the lines shimmer under certain light. Whether these effects are remnants of natural geology or traces of deliberate engineering remains an open question, one that blurs the boundary between ancient ritual and forgotten science. And somewhere above the desert, the lines still wait to be read. The Antikythera mechanism, Greece. The sea was calm the day they found it, a stillness that betrayed what lay beneath. Off the coast of Antikythera, between Crete and mainland Greece, a group of sponge divers descended into the Aegean depths in the spring of 1900. The water was cold, darker with each stroke, until the shapes of a shipwreck emerged from the gloom. Ancient statues, bronze limbs, amphorae scattered like bones across the seabed. But among them rested something far less beautiful and infinitely more strange. A lump of corroded bronze, no larger than a shoebox, fused to a rotting plank. No one gave it much thought at first. It looked like debris, the forgotten fragment of some lost treasure. It was only when the divers brought it to the surface that time itself seemed to stir. For within that crusted block were gears, dozens of them, crafted with a precision no ancient toolmaker was ever supposed to possess. Years passed before the artifact revealed even a hint of its purpose. When researchers pried it open, they discovered an intricate system of interlocking wheels and inscriptions in ancient Greek, a machine both alien and familiar. It came to be known as the Antikythera mechanism, and it would forever change the timeline of human ingenuity. The fragments were painstakingly studied in Athens, where early researchers realized that the gear teeth followed mathematical ratios too complex to be decorative. Inscriptions etched along its surfaces referenced the zodiac and the Egyptian calendar, linking Greek astronomy to older systems of measurement. Tiny Greek letters still visible beneath corrosion marked lunar phases and planetary cycles, evidence of a mind, or perhaps a school of minds, working from knowledge far ahead of their time. What puzzled experts most was that no other artifact from the ancient world even hinted at similar workmanship, as though this single object had appeared from a vanished workshop of unparalleled genius. At first, scholars dismissed it as impossible. No technology remotely like it existed in recorded history until 1,000 years later. The level of craftsmanship suggested calculations of the heavens, gear ratios so precise they mirrored celestial cycles. But who in the 1st century BCE could have conceived of such a thing? The Greeks had philosophy, mathematics, and astronomy, but machines of this complexity belonged supposedly to the age of clockmakers. When X-rays were first used to peer through its corroded casing in the 1970s, the results shocked the scientific world. Hidden within were more than 30 bronze gears, teeth cut with mathematical precision, their motion once driven by a hand crank. As it turned out, it simulated the motion of the sun, the moon, and the planets, predicting eclipses and lunar phases decades in advance. In essence, it was the world's first analog computer, built at a time when most civilizations were still measuring the sky with sticks and shadows. And yet the mystery runs deeper than engineering. Who designed it? No known Greek text describes such a device. The workmanship suggests a lineage of experimentation, as if this were not the first of its kind, but the last survivor of a lost tradition. Archimedes, Hipparchus, and other ancient astronomers are often named as possible minds behind it, but no proof ties them to its creation. It is as if the mechanism appeared out of nowhere, fully realized, and then vanished without leaving descendants. Modern reconstructions, using 3D imaging and computer modeling, have revealed writing so faint it can only be seen with angled light. The inscriptions speak of cycles, eclipses, and calendars, of the gods Helios and Silenus, of timing and destiny. But they also hint at missing pieces, other gears, now lost, that may have once tracked planetary paths unseen in the surviving fragments. If those parts existed, the complete device would have been capable of modelling not just time, but the harmony of the cosmos itself. Revealing a mastery of metallurgy and machining, the surviving fragments astonish modern engineers. The gears were cut with tolerances measured in fractions of a millimetre, the bronze alloy hardened to resist wear, and the teeth angled to transfer motion smoothly over decades of use. Microscopic traces indicate polishing techniques that minimize friction, and tiny inscriptions suggest an intentional calibration system, as if the device could be tuned with precision like a musical instrument. Such sophistication implies a culture capable of highly advanced mechanical thought, far beyond what we normally associate with the ancient Mediterranean. Some researchers call it the crown jewel of ancient science. Others see it as a relic from an age we barely understand, proof that human knowledge may have peaked and then been forgotten, buried beneath centuries of war and fire. How many other inventions vanished with it? How many other minds dreamed beyond their era, only for the sea to swallow their genius whole? The Antikythera mechanism forces us to confront the fragility of memory. For 2,000 years it lay silent in the depths, its gears locked, its inscriptions fading, while the world above forgot it ever existed. It survived only by accident, a relic of logic adrift in myth. And perhaps that's the greatest mystery of all. Not how it was made, but why it was made at all. A machine that could calculate the heavens, hidden in a shipwreck between forgotten islands, as though it had served its purpose and was cast away when mankind no longer understood its own creation. Recent dives at the Antikythera wreck site have uncovered additional fragments, bronze nails, wooden planks, and smaller corroded pieces that may have belonged to other mechanisms now lost to the sea. Using particle scanners and photogrammetry, scientists traced faint residues of gold and silver inlays once embedded on its dials, suggesting the device was not merely practical but ceremonial, perhaps used in temples where timekeeping merged with worship. Yet even these discoveries deepen the mystery. No surviving text or inscription elsewhere in Greece describes its use, and no legend recalls an age when machines imitated the sky so perfectly. In the silence where the sea keeps its oldest secrets, a gear turns on, faithful to a purpose lost to time. Gobekli Tepe, Turkey. On a windswept rise in southeastern Turkey, a hill of dust and limestone once hid the oldest riddle of humankind. For centuries, villagers passed it by without suspicion, calling it Gobekli Tepe, Potbelly Hill, a place as ordinary as the grazing sheep that wandered its slopes. Nothing about its barren surface hinted at the enormity sleeping just below, until one day in 1994, when a farmer's shovel struck stone and rang out a sound that did not belong to the earth. What emerged from that hillside was not a ruin of any known civilization, but something that predated civilization itself. Beneath layers of packed soil, archaeologists uncovered immense circular enclosures arranged with mathematical precision, their walls lined with towering limestone pillars carved with reliefs of animals, so vivid they seemed to move when caught by the light. Among the carvings were symbols, abstract shapes and intersecting lines that scholars still cannot translate, suggesting a proto-language or sacred code that predates the earliest writing systems by thousands of years. Vultures, foxes, scorpions and serpents, each figure carried a symbolic weight that time had long since erased. When the first radiocarbon dates returned, they shattered every established timeline. Gobekli Tepe, it turned out, was over 11,000 years old, built in an age when humans still roamed in tribes, long before agriculture, cities or writing were even imagined. The sheer scale of it defied logic. Some pillars weighed more than 10 tons and stood as high as a 2-story building, yet they had been cut, shaped, and set upright without metal tools or beasts of burden. Whoever built Gobekli Tepe possessed knowledge far beyond what historians believe possible for its era. Even more puzzling was its purpose. There were no signs of dwellings, hearths or burials, no evidence of life, only an overwhelming sense of ritual. It was as though the builders gathered there not to live, but to remember something sacred, to anchor the intangible in stone. Though no records remain to explain their methods, the landscape itself offers faint echoes of the people who raised the stones. Quarries discovered a short distance from the hill reveal half-carved pillars abandoned mid-process, as if the workers had vanished suddenly or chosen to leave them behind for reasons now lost. Soil analysis suggests that groups from across the region once gathered here in seasonal cycles, bringing with them flint tools, obsidian blades and animal offerings. It is possible that these gatherings were less about survival than communion, a convergence of scattered tribes drawn by a shared myth older than language, where the act of building became its own form of worship, and then, just as mysteriously, they buried it all. Each enclosure was deliberately filled with rubble and sealed shut, preserved as though its makers feared it would be desecrated or forgotten. The act was precise, ceremonial, almost reverent. Whatever the people of Gobekli Tepe sought to hide, they ensured it would remain undisturbed for millennia. When the first excavation reports were published, they forced archaeologists to reconsider the very order of human progress. Civilization, they had believed, arose from necessity. Humans learned to farm, settled in villages, and only then built temples. But Gobekli Tepe reversed that logic entirely. It suggested that belief came first, that faith, not survival, may have been the force that first drew people together. Yet faith in what? The carvings show no deities, only predators and scavengers, creatures of death and transformation. Perhaps the people who built it sought to commune with the natural world itself, or with forces older and stranger than gods. The arrangement of the stones holds further mysteries. Some align with celestial points, hinting at an understanding of astronomy long before recorded science. One enclosure seems oriented toward the rising of Sirius, the brightest star in the sky, while others form geometries that mirror the surrounding hills. Every excavation uncovers yet another circle hidden beneath the earth, each older than the last, as though the builders had constructed layer upon layer of meaning, retreating backward in time with every ring of stone. Without metal tools or draft animals, moving and raising pillars weighing over 10 tons becomes all the more baffling. Experiments suggest the use of simple wooden levers, ramps and coordinated human effort, yet the precision with which each pillar was positioned defies modern expectations for such primitive means. Tool marks on quarried stones indicate sophisticated knowledge of fracture lines and tension, while the uniformity in pillar height and alignment implies careful planning and surveying techniques that remain invisible to us today. Every detail points to a culture capable of engineering and organisation far beyond what we typically attribute to pre-agricultural humans. With the arrival of new technologies, more layers of the hill have been revealed, its silence left undisturbed. Ground-penetrating radar and magnetometric surveys have revealed dozens of yet unexcavated circles beneath the surface, some stretching deeper than any known enclosure. These findings suggest that Gobekli Tepe is only a fragment of a much larger complex, one that may have evolved over centuries of ritual use. While Klaus Schmidt believed it was a temple of the first gods, later researchers question whether it served as a vast celestial chart or a monument to ancestral memory, its alignments not with stars alone but with stories that once defined the world's beginning. No matter how much is unearthed, the site refuses to yield clarity. Scholars argue that it might have been a gathering place for ancient clans, a centre for rituals of death or rebirth, or even a cosmic observatory meant to measure the movements of the heavens. Others speculate more boldly that Gobekli Tepe was built by a forgotten civilization whose knowledge flickered briefly and then vanished, leaving only this silent testament to their existence. As dusk settles over Potbelly Hill, the pillars stand in pale light, their carvings breathing with shadow. The air grows still, and for a moment it is possible to imagine figures moving among the stones, priests, hunters, visionaries, silhouetted against a sky untouched by modern memory. They're gone now, but their purpose remains inscribed in the limestone, too old to read and too deliberate to dismiss. And under the hill they buried with their own hands, something still waits, unbroken by time, guarding a story that humankind has only begun to remember. The Longyou Caves, China. The story begins in 1992 when a farmer in Zhejiang province tried to deepen a pond that had never dried out, even during drought. His shovel struck stone and soon a hidden void opened beneath the ground. When villagers joined him to dig deeper, they discovered not one chamber, but a labyrinth of vast halls stretching in every direction, carved from solid siltstone with impossible precision. What began as a local curiosity would soon become one of China's most baffling archaeological enigmas. At first glance, the scale of the caves seems almost unreal. Some chambers soar more than 30 meters high, with ceilings so smooth they reflect lamplight like glass. Every wall bears the same parallel chiseling marks, carved in neat rhythmic waves that cover tens of thousands of square meters. Each stroke appears deliberate, as if the builders had followed a single design, but there are no records, no legends, no myths, not even rumors in China's vast historical archives that mention their creation. When engineers entered the caverns, they found that the stone pillars, corners and slopes were not random or rough-hewn. They were measured, aligned and perfectly balanced, as though crafted by master builders working to a precise blueprint. Yet no tools, debris, or evidence of construction were ever found. The caves were empty from the moment they were uncovered, as if whoever built them had vanished before leaving even a trace of themselves behind. Light behaves strangely inside the Longyou caves. Sunlight reaches only the first few meters, after which total darkness swallows sound and movement alike. Explorers who enter with lamps describe an eerie stillness, the air cool but dry, as though the chambers breathe slowly. Despite their age, estimated at more than 2,000 years, the walls have not eroded, the ceilings have not collapsed, and the carvings remain as sharp as when they were first made. Modern engineers have admitted that reproducing such stability with present-day technology would be extraordinarily difficult. The question that haunts scholars is not just how these caves were built, but why. No sign of habitation exists, no soot from fires, no pottery shards, no altars, no bones. They do not appear to be tombs, temples or shelters. Some theorize they were massive underground reservoirs, but their structure and placement make that unlikely. Others think they were symbolic, perhaps ritual spaces where light and geometry held spiritual meaning. Each theory rises and falls against the same silence. The caves refuse to explain themselves. Strange consistency runs through the chambers, archaeologists have noted. Each one seems to follow similar proportions, suggesting the work of a unified plan rather than separate generations of excavation. The layout hints at symmetry, but not complete uniformity, as though the builders were imitating natural order rather than imposing perfect geometry. That choice has puzzled architects. It implies an aesthetic consciousness, as well as engineering mastery, both far more advanced than anything known in the region during the Qin or Han dynasties. Even the chiseling technique itself defies conventional explanation. Microscopic analysis of the marks shows a consistency in depth and spacing that would challenge modern craftsmen, yet there is no evidence of tools that could achieve such uniformity. Some patterns suggest the use of a guide system, perhaps ropes or primitive levelling devices, but the precision goes far beyond what such methods could accomplish alone. Every line seems intentional, part of a hidden logic that hints at planning and skill far exceeding what is recorded for ancient China. Further intrigue arises from the material properties of the siltstone. Tests reveal that the walls have hardened over time in a way that makes them stronger than freshly quarried stone, resisting both erosion and seismic activity. It is as though the builders anticipated centuries of exposure and engineered the stone itself to endure. Combined with the cave's exact proportions, this suggests not only technical mastery, but a sophisticated understanding of geology and structural engineering lost to history, leaving the Longyou caves as a silent testament to knowledge we have yet to comprehend. In recent studies, underwater sonar mapping of nearby hills revealed anomalies resembling sealed cavities, formations that mirror the proportions of the existing caves but remain untouched beneath layers of sediment. Some researchers believe these could be extensions of the same network, suggesting the complex once spanned far beyond what is currently visible. If true, it would mean that the builders not only mastered subterranean architecture but also intentionally concealed parts of their work, creating a structure meant to be partly hidden, as though its full design was never meant to be seen by those who came after. Local folklore eventually tried to fill the void left by history. Some villagers say the caves were made by ancient gods seeking refuge from a flood. Others whisper that they were the dwellings of a forgotten race that lived beneath the earth and disappeared before humankind arrived. But even these stories are modern inventions, born after the discovery, not before. Imagination rushing in to replace the absence of fact. When scientists attempted to date the caves, they faced another paradox. Because the stone is native and untouched by organic matter, radiocarbon testing cannot reveal when it was carved. There is no soot, no wood, no residue to analyse. The only clues are patterns of water erosion and sediment, suggesting the caves may have remained sealed and dry for millennia. Such preservation implies that the builders not only understood geology but also engineered drainage and airflow in ways that remain functional to this day. Using laser mapping and 3D scanning, researchers have recently uncovered subtle mathematical relationships between chambers, angles that align with the stars themselves. Whether intentional or coincidental, these correlations have reignited speculation that the site may have served as a calendar, a sanctuary, or something beyond both. Yet as technology grows more advanced, the mystery deepens rather than resolves. Each new detail expands the sense that whoever built the Longyou caves knew far more than history allows. Visitors who stand in the main hall often report the same sensation, the feeling that the stone itself is listening. The soft acoustics cause echoes to dissolve almost instantly, leaving speech suspended in the air for a heartbeat before fading. It is a silence that feels deliberate, designed, as though the caves were tuned to hold their secrets. And in that silence, time seems to pause, waiting for an answer that has not yet been found. The more we measure its walls, the clearer it becomes that something measured us first. The Piri Reis map, Ottoman Empire. In 1513, an Ottoman admiral named Ahmed Muhiddin Piri, known to history as Piri Reis, carefully unrolled a piece of gazelle skin and began to chart the known world. Every stroke of ink reflected his years at sea, the reports of other navigators, and a desire to preserve knowledge that might otherwise vanish. Piri Reis had served in the Ottoman navy for decades, participating in expeditions across the Mediterranean and Aegean seas, which gave him first-hand experience of navigation, currents, and coastal geography that few cartographers of his time could match. The map was not merely a tool, it was a record of human curiosity, a bridge between voyages and generations. At first glance, the map appears familiar. Coastlines of Western Europe, North Africa, and the eastern shores of South America are drawn with careful precision. Islands, bays, and peninsulas emerge from the parchment in fine detail, while small ships traverse the seas, their sails and oars sketched with meticulous care. His use of latitude and longitudinal approximations, though imprecise by modern standards, shows a sophisticated understanding of navigation that allowed sailors to plot courses across oceans with greater confidence than ever before. Piri Reis included notes along the margins, citing older sources, including charts created by Christopher Columbus, and even maps whose origins are now unknown. What sets the map apart is how it preserves fragments of earlier knowledge. Piri Reis himself wrote that he compiled it from 20 ancient maps and 8 more recent ones, blending Greek, Arabic, Portuguese, and Spanish sources. The combination reflects a sophisticated understanding of geography and an ability to reconcile conflicting information into a coherent vision of the world, revealing how navigators in the early 16th century viewed oceans they had only begun to explore. Yet among these familiar contours lies one of its most unsettling features, a depiction of an ice-free coastline along what appears to be Antarctica, centuries before its official discovery. The section shows mountains and bays that correspond uncannily to the subglacial topography mapped by modern sonar beneath the Antarctic ice sheet. Scholars debate whether this resemblance is coincidence, distortion, or a fragment of far older geographic knowledge preserved through forgotten sources that Piri Reis could never have understood in full. Drawing on maps possibly far older than commonly recognised, Piri Reis might have inherited knowledge from ancient civilizations now lost to history. References in his notes hint at Greek and Phoenician sources that predate his time by centuries, suggesting a chain of geographic memory stretching across millennia. Whether these sources accurately recorded distant lands or were copies of conjectural maps is unclear, but their precision in certain areas, like the Antarctic coastline, defies what historians expect from the era. Equally puzzling is the technical understanding required to transpose such knowledge onto a flat piece of parchment. The scaling, angles, and relative positioning of continents demonstrate a grasp of projection techniques far ahead of the 16th century, implying either remarkable ingenuity or access to information that anticipated modern cartographic methods. The fragmentary map seems to encode not just geography, but a system of spatial reasoning lost to history, leaving us to wonder if Piri Reis was a lone genius or the final custodian of knowledge centuries older than his own world. Only a fragment of the original map survives today, covering the Atlantic Ocean and portions of Europe, Africa, and South America. Large sections have been lost over the centuries, leaving historians to ponder what additional details may have existed. Even in its incomplete form, the map offers a striking window into early Ottoman navigation, showing the routes, islands, and coastal features considered essential for sailors at the dawn of global exploration. The map was rediscovered in 1929 in the Topkapi Palace Library in Istanbul, where it had been stored for centuries. Scholars recognized its significance immediately. Its detailed calligraphy, careful colouring, and precise geographic representation testify to the expertise of Piri Reis, whose work reflects both the skill of a navigator and the scholarship of a man devoted to preserving knowledge. Annotations along the map reveal observations of islands, coastlines, and sailing directions, demonstrating how information was passed between cultures in an age before modern navigation tools. Piri Reis clearly valued accuracy and included warnings about unknown regions and hazards, showing the interplay between observation, inherited knowledge, and judgment in early cartography. Historians note variations in accuracy across the map. Some coastlines closely match modern geography, while others are distorted. These inconsistencies do not diminish its importance. Instead, they highlight the limits of contemporary knowledge and the challenges faced by navigators attempting to map the world with incomplete information. The map itself becomes a record of the unknown, a document that shows not only what was known but also what remained to be discovered. Exposed to ultraviolet light, the fragment began to show delicate contours along its edges, maps of places that no longer exist. Some researchers argue these marks are remnants of regions once imagined but later erased, while others suspect they represent areas now submerged by rising seas. Whatever the explanation, the ghostly shapes hint that the Piri Reis map may preserve not just the world as it was known, but echoes of continents that memory itself has lost. Beyond its technical aspects, the map evokes a sense of wonder. Each line, label and note captures the world as it appeared to those who'd seen only fragments of it. Its surviving portion is a testament to the cumulative effort of explorers and cartographers who recorded, debated, and interpreted what they observed. The map stands as both a guide and a question, a record of human effort reaching toward lands that few had visited and some may never have known. Beyond its historical value, the Piri Reis map captivates modern viewers as something more than a mere artifact. It is a window into curiosity itself, showing the painstaking work of a man who attempted to measure the unknown and preserve it for the future. Its fragmentary state reminds us that knowledge is often partial, shaped by what survives and what is lost. And though centuries have passed, the map still challenges us to envision the world as it was seen by someone who sailed uncharted waters and imagined the lands beyond the horizon. Even 5 centuries later, the map still whispers the questions of a world only partially revealed. The Baghdad Battery, Iraq. In the deserts near modern Baghdad, archaeologists uncovered a set of small clay jars in 1938 that would challenge assumptions about ancient technology. The jars, unearthed from Parthian-era ruins dating back roughly 2,000 years, contained a copper cylinder and an iron rod, components that resembled a rudimentary battery. At first, scholars catalogued them as mundane artifacts, yet closer inspection suggested a more remarkable possibility. These jars may have been capable of producing electricity. The discovery immediately raised questions. How and why would a civilization so long ago attempt to generate electrical current? The jars themselves were simple, ceramic vessels shaped by hand, fitted with metal components and sealed with asphalt. But the arrangement implied intentional design. Some researchers hypothesize that the iron rod and copper cylinder, when immersed in an acidic solution like vinegar or grape juice, could produce a small electrical charge. It was a possibility that placed the Parthians in an unexpected light, not merely craftsmen and traders, but experimenters with knowledge beyond common assumptions. What makes the Baghdad Battery so intriguing is the absence of documentation. No inscriptions, drawings, or texts explain its purpose. Unlike other Parthian artifacts, which often depict religious or commercial use, these jars suggest a technology without context. Archaeologists can only study their construction and test modern replicas to estimate what they might have achieved. The lack of a written explanation turns the object into a puzzle, inviting theories rather than certainties. When X-ray scans were performed on the original jars in the 1970s, researchers found faint traces of corrosion patterns inconsistent with simple storage vessels. The inner copper sheets bore residues of unknown origin, suggesting that some chemical process had once taken place inside them. Later, analyses proposed the presence of mild acids and metallic ions, but the evidence remains inconclusive, as if the ingredients themselves had evaporated with time, leaving behind only the ghost of an experiment. Experimental reconstructions have demonstrated that a solution of vinegar or citrus juice could generate a small voltage, enough to electroplate a thin layer of metal onto another surface. While this does not confirm their original purpose, it shows that ancient artisans could have been capable of a basic form of chemistry-based electricity. Scholars debate whether the jars were practical devices, used for electroplating jewelry, medicinal purposes, or even ritual, or whether they were symbolic objects designed to imitate the concept of energy. The jar's size and portability add another layer of intrigue. Unlike modern batteries, which are designed for continuous use and standardization, each Baghdad battery varies slightly in shape and assembly. This inconsistency suggests experimentation or local craftsmanship rather than mass production, pointing to a society that was exploring concepts rather than relying on standardized tools. Their placement in the archaeological site also offers clues. The jars were found near clay pots, inscriptions, and other ritualistic artifacts, though no direct association has been proven. Throughout the years, historians and engineers alike have marvelled at the ingenuity implied by such an artifact. Producing even a small electrical charge requires an understanding of materials, chemical reactions, and containment. While there is no evidence that the Parthians understood electricity as a scientific principle, they may have stumbled upon a practical effect and applied it in ways now lost to history. This combination of practical knowledge and mystery is what keeps the Baghdad battery relevant to both archaeology and popular imagination. The artifact also challenges linear assumptions about technological development. Conventional history places the discovery and application of electricity in the 18th and 19th centuries, yet the Baghdad battery suggests that the principles of electrochemistry may have been observed much earlier. Whether these jars were intentionally used as batteries or simply represent an accidental chemical reaction remains unresolved, but the object undeniably forces a reconsideration of what ancient engineers could achieve. More recent excavations near Kujut Rabu, where the first jars were found, have uncovered fragments of similar vessels buried deeper in the same strata. Their distribution hints that the site may once have hosted a workshop or ritual area where these devices were assembled or demonstrated. Yet no tools, wiring, or ancillary structures accompany them, only the same deliberate emptiness that follows many inexplicable artifacts, as though the builders had erased their purpose as carefully as they created it. Hinting at repeated experiments or ceremonial use, the jars were revealed through chemical analyses to contain traces of organic acids and metallic residues in the surrounding soil. Some researchers speculate that artisans were testing different liquid mixtures, observing reactions, or attempting to coat small objects with thin metal layers. The deliberate placement of these jars alongside other ritual artifacts could indicate a blending of practical experimentation with spiritual or symbolic meaning, a fusion of curiosity and reverence that modern science can recognize but not fully interpret. Replicas of the Baghdad battery in modern museums often spark debate among visitors and scholars alike. While they do not produce large amounts of power, the demonstration of a working replica leaves a lingering question. If a Parthian artisan could create a small electrical reaction, what other knowledge might have been discovered and lost in the sands of time? The jars stand as silent witnesses to human curiosity, reminding us that ingenuity is not bound by modern chronology. In the end, the Baghdad battery continues to captivate because it straddles the line between certainty and speculation. It is a testament to craftsmanship, experimentation, and the possibility that ancient civilizations experimented with ideas that would not be fully understood for millennia. No inscriptions explain its purpose, no records describe its use, and yet it exists as a tangible connection to minds daring to explore the unseen forces of nature. The enduring fascination with the Baghdad battery lies not only in what it might have done, but in what it represents: a civilization's curiosity, a willingness to test the boundaries of the known, and a reminder that knowledge can emerge, be applied, and vanish long before it is recorded. It challenges modern assumptions about progress, suggesting that ingenuity can appear in unexpected forms and places, leaving behind traces that provoke awe, wonder, and endless speculation. Amid the Parthian ruins, the spark of discovery lingers, waiting to be understood. The stone spheres of Costa Rica. Hundreds of flawlessly round stone orbs are scattered through the jungles of Costa Rica, each one perfectly shaped, yet mysteriously out of place. Some are small enough to hold in your hands, while others weigh tons, their surfaces polished to an almost unnatural smoothness. No one knows exactly why these spheres were made, how they were transported, or what purpose they served, making them a silent riddle left behind by a civilization lost to time. The craftsmanship of these spheres is astonishing. Carved from gabbro, limestone, and other hard rocks, they exhibit a symmetry and smoothness rarely seen in pre-Columbian artifacts. Microscopic analysis reveals that some were polished deliberately, suggesting skill, patience, and a methodical approach that challenges conventional assumptions about the technological abilities of the Dikwis culture, which flourished between 700 CE and 1530 CE. Some spheres contain faint markings or grooves that suggest intentional carving, not natural erosion. These subtle features imply that the artisans had specific designs or symbolic meanings in mind, even if the exact purpose has been lost to time. Each groove hints at a deliberate plan, reinforcing the idea that the spheres were not random creations but carefully crafted objects meant to convey importance or authority. Patterns emerge when the spheres are considered together. Many lie in straight lines, alignments, or clusters, hinting at intentional placement rather than random distribution. Some researchers suggest astronomical significance, proposing that the spheres may align with solstices, equinoxes, or certain star positions. Others speculate they marked ceremonial centres, territorial boundaries, or social hierarchies. Despite extensive study, no theory fully explains their arrangement, leaving each alignment as tantalising as it is perplexing. Archaeological mapping conducted in the Dikwis Delta has revealed that some alignments of spheres correspond not only to celestial points, but also to the orientation of ancient riverbeds and mountains visible from their original sites. This dual precision, tying earth and sky together, suggests an advanced understanding of geography and cosmology. The builders may have viewed the landscape itself as a sacred canvas, inscribing meaning across both terrain and horizon, binding human order to natural cycles. Transporting the massive spheres adds another layer of mystery. Some weigh over 15 tons, yet there is no evidence of cranes, levers or roads capable of moving them over the uneven terrain of the Costa Rican lowlands. Experiments using primitive methods demonstrate how difficult it would be to move even the smaller stones, let alone the largest orbs. The sphere's precise placement suggests knowledge of engineering or techniques that remain unknown, implying a level of planning and organisation far beyond what the surviving cultural evidence might indicate. The sphere's interaction with the landscape is equally intriguing. Many were positioned near artificial mounds, plazas or ceremonial spaces, integrating them into the human-built environment in ways that suggest purpose and meaning. Smaller stones are sometimes clustered around larger ones, potentially amplifying symbolic or ritual significance. This careful integration indicates that the spheres were more than decorative. They were likely central to cultural practices, perhaps serving as tools of observation, markers of status, or conduits of spiritual power. Often found near burial sites or ceremonial mounds, the spheres suggest a connection to ritual practice or spiritual belief, archaeologists note. Their proximity to human activity indicates they may have served as markers of sacred space or tools for observing seasonal or celestial events. The presence of these stones alongside signs of cultural life underscores their role as both practical and symbolic objects, though their full meaning remains tantalizingly out of reach. During the latest phase of excavation, fragments of pigment appeared on several spheres, hinting at a once-painted origin. Microscopic residue of red and black mineral dyes suggests that colour may have played a symbolic role now lost to time, perhaps denoting rank, lineage, or ritual sequence. If so, the monochrome stones we see today are ghosts of once living symbols, their vibrancy eroded by centuries of rain and soil. So faint that they escape casual observation, traces of mineral-based pigments were found on some spheres under microscopic analysis. Red, black, and ochre hues hint that these stones were not simply left bare, but intentionally coloured, perhaps as markers for ritual, social hierarchy, or seasonal observation. The faded pigments suggest a lost language of symbolism, one that would have allowed observers to read the spheres in ways modern researchers can only guess at, a code now nearly erased by time. Responding in unexpected ways, a small subset of spheres seems to produce acoustic reactions when struck. Early experiments report deep resonances from certain orbs, while others produce almost no sound, implying that sound may have played a role in their placement or use. Could these perfectly shaped stones have been instruments in ceremonies, guides for timing celestial events, or even tools for communicating across space? Whatever the answer, these tonal qualities add an entirely new dimension to their mystery, suggesting that the spheres were not just visual symbols, but components of a more complex multisensory system lost to history. The methods used to create these spheres remain debated. Some scholars argue that pecking and grinding with rudimentary tools could achieve the shapes, but reproductions rarely match the precision and smoothness of the originals. Each sphere's uniformity hints at a system of techniques that has since been lost. The failure to replicate them consistently reinforces the idea that these stones are enigmatic monuments to skill, patience, and an aesthetic sensibility that modern observers can appreciate but cannot fully reproduce. Folklore has grown around the spheres, amplifying their mystery. Local legends speak of stones imbued with mystical energy, capable of influencing luck, fertility, or the natural world. While archaeologists focus on practical explanations, The sphere's flawless geometry and monumental size naturally invite speculation. They exist as both physical artifacts and symbols of human ingenuity, challenging assumptions about what ancient civilizations were capable of achieving in art, engineering, and symbolic thought. Even today, many spheres remain hidden beneath vegetation, untouched by modern researchers. Preservation efforts have ensured that others can be studied, but the larger mysteries endure. The more scientists learn about these remarkable objects, the more questions arise about their creation, purpose, and meaning. They stand as silent witnesses to a civilization whose intellectual and artistic achievements surpass our full understanding, a legacy both beautiful and inscrutable. In the shadowed jungles of Costa Rica, the spheres lie quietly, their perfect forms guarding secrets that time refuses to reveal. The Shroud of Turin, Italy. The Shroud of Turin is unlike any artifact in the world, a linen cloth that has captivated believers, skeptics, and scientists for centuries. Measuring roughly 14 feet long and 3.5 feet wide, it bears the faint image of a man, front and back, as if pressed by some unseen force. The figure is marked by wounds that correspond to crucifixion, but how the image was formed remains a mystery. Centuries of observation, analysis, and debate have failed to produce a definitive explanation. Beginning in the 14th century, historians trace the documented history of the shroud in Europe, though some suggest it may have existed earlier. It surfaced in Lille, France, as a religious relic, attracting both devotion and controversy. Records show that the shroud was displayed to the public multiple times in Lille, and later transferred to the House of Savoy in Italy, suggesting it was already considered an object of significant reverence and intrigue. Church authorities examined it carefully, and it was eventually transferred to Turin, Italy, where it resides today under the watchful care of the Vatican. Over the centuries, countless pilgrims have travelled to gaze upon it, drawn by a sense that the cloth holds something beyond ordinary comprehension. The image itself defies easy description. It is not painted, dyed, or otherwise applied in any conventional sense. Scientific studies show no pigments or brushstrokes that could explain the contours of the face, the wounds, or the body markings. The figure appears almost three-dimensional, with shadows and highlights that suggest a depth beyond the flat cloth. Even the hair, beard, and musculature are rendered with remarkable realism, leaving experts to wonder at the method that produced such intricate detail. Chemical and physical analysis has added both clarity and more questions. Tests reveal that the cloth is composed of linen fibres consistent with ancient weaving techniques. Pollen and dust particles found on the fabric trace its journey through the Middle East and Europe, providing clues to its historical path. Yet no combination of natural processes known to science fully explains the formation of the image, and its origin remains a subject of intense investigation. High-resolution spectral imaging has, in recent years, revealed faint ultraviolet fluorescence on sections of the shroud, something no known medieval technique could have produced. Some researchers have suggested that the image may result from a rapid burst of radiant energy, perhaps chemical, thermal, or even radiation-based, that lightly scorched the outermost fibrils without penetrating deeper into the threads. Yet even this hypothesis falters under scrutiny, for no experiment has managed to reproduce the same delicate gradation of tone or the precise boundary where image and cloth merge seamlessly. Radiocarbon dating conducted in 1988 placed the shroud's creation between 1260 and 1390 CE, suggesting a medieval origin. Critics of the study argue that the tested samples came from a repaired section, while others propose that contamination could have skewed results. Subsequent investigations using microscopy, spectroscopy, and pollen analysis have traced the cloth's journey across multiple regions, providing evidence of exposure to diverse environments that align with its documented movements through Europe and the Middle East. Regardless, the radiocarbon findings have not quelled fascination. Instead, they deepen the mystery, prompting further study and debate. Each new test seems to raise as many questions as it answers. Forensic experts have examined the markings on the shroud in painstaking detail. The wounds correspond to descriptions of crucifixion, including puncture marks on the wrists, lacerations along the back, and a wound in the side. Bloodstains appear in the natural colour of dried blood, and analysis indicates the presence of hemoglobin. Yet the source of the image itself, how it left such a precise imprint on the fibres, remains unexplained. No known technology, ancient or modern, has been able to replicate the effect convincingly. The shroud's enigma extends beyond science into the human psyche. Artists, theologians, and historians have long debated whether the image is a relic of faith, a remarkable medieval creation, or something entirely beyond ordinary explanation. Photographs taken in the late 19th and 20th centuries revealed that a photographic negative of the cloth shows the image in astonishing clarity, almost reversing light and shadow, a property not understood when first observed. Such details contribute to the air of mystery surrounding the artifact. With each technological study, the enigma surrounding the objects grows deeper. High-resolution 3D imaging and spectral analysis reveal subtle topographical features of the image, including apparent relief in the facial features and body contours. The markings correspond so precisely to a human form that some researchers suggest the shroud encodes information about light, shadow, and depth in a manner no medieval artist could have intentionally achieved. Every fibre seems to hold a whisper of an unknown process, hinting at forces or techniques that remain beyond current understanding. Intriguingly, several replicas made by artists, scientists, and photographers over the decades have failed to capture the shroud's unusual optical properties. Under digital magnification, the image reveals a lack of directional pattern. No brushwork, no pressure traces, no capillary bleeding, only a faint yellowing confined to the outermost fibres. The effect becomes visible only when viewed at a distance or through a photographic negative, as though the image was never intended for the naked eye but for some other, unseen form of perception. Over centuries it has survived fires, floods, and centuries of handling. Conservation efforts have protected the shroud from further decay, yet every exposure and display adds new layers of observation. Each time it is studied, the shroud challenges expectations. It seems at once fragile and timeless, ordinary cloth yet imbued with extraordinary evidence that defies complete understanding. Whether one views it through the lens of faith, science, or history, the Shroud of Turin endures as a singular puzzle. Its image is a silent record of human fascination, a relic that has inspired wonder, devotion, and inquiry. The more we examine it, the more questions arise, and the more it resists final explanation. The linen holds its secrets tightly, leaving only shadows of a story we may never fully know. The Great Zimbabwe Ruins, Zimbabwe. In the rolling hills of southeastern Zimbabwe, massive stone walls rise without mortar, forming a city whose builders remain partially unknown. Great Zimbabwe, constructed between the 11th and 15th centuries, was the heart of a sophisticated civilization in southern Africa. Its impressive stone architecture, with towers, enclosures, and circular structures, stands as a testament to ingenuity and social organization that challenges assumptions about pre-colonial African states. The city sprawls across hundreds of acres, divided into the hill complex, the Great Enclosure, and the valley ruins. The hill complex, perched atop a rocky outcrop, features winding passageways and terraces that suggest careful planning and ceremonial significance. Its walls are built from granite blocks stacked without mortar, some reaching heights of over 30 feet. The construction demonstrates remarkable engineering skills, raising questions about how the builders moved, shaped, and positioned these massive stones with the tools available at the time. Deep below the hill complex terraces, traces of ordinary life emerged within the sacred ground, evidence of fire, sustenance, and ritual bound together. The mixture of household debris and ceremonial artifacts indicates that the line between sacred and everyday life was fluid, that the people of Great Zimbabwe lived in a world where political authority, spirituality, and community were inseparable. This combination of domestic and ritual elements reveals a complex social fabric that defies simple interpretation. Archaeologists have found evidence of trade that connects Great Zimbabwe to far-reaching networks. Beads, ceramics, and copper artifacts indicate contact with the Swahili coast, the Indian Ocean trade, and even possibly the Arabian Peninsula. Gold dust and ingots suggest that the city played a central role in regional wealth, while pottery fragments hint at sophisticated artistic expression. Beads and shells originating from as far as India and the East African coast demonstrate that Great Zimbabwe was part of an expansive network of exchange, linking it to cultures across the Indian Ocean. These findings reveal a society that was not isolated but deeply integrated into a wider economic and cultural world. Despite its scale and sophistication, The origins of Great Zimbabwe remain partly mysterious. Early European explorers and colonists often dismissed the ruins as the product of outside civilizations, unable to credit African builders with such achievement. Modern archaeology, however, has confirmed that the city was entirely constructed by the ancestors of the Shona people. Even so, the precise organization, planning methods, and social structures that enabled such a monumental project are still subjects of research and debate. The Great Enclosure, the largest single ancient structure in sub-Saharan Africa, features an oval-shaped wall over 800 feet long. Within its boundaries lie conical towers and enclosures whose purposes are debated. Some scholars suggest religious or ceremonial functions, while others see evidence of elite residential spaces. The layout of the walls and the careful alignment of entrances and passages hint at symbolic meaning, as if the city's very design encoded power, hierarchy, or spiritual belief. Some walls bear subtle patterns and alignments that suggest more than structural necessity. Archaeologists have noted that certain passageways and enclosures correspond to the rising and setting points of the sun during solstices, hinting at possible astronomical or calendrical functions. Whether intentional or coincidental, these alignments reveal a level of observation and planning that transforms the city from a mere settlement into a landscape intertwined with natural cycles, ritual timing, and symbolic meaning. Geophysical instruments sweeping the ground around the site detected buried alignments, foundations and walls extending far beyond what meets the eye. These underground traces imply that the known ruins may represent only a fraction of the original city, possibly including residential districts, workshops, or ceremonial avenues that once connected the enclosures. If confirmed, these findings would expand the known boundaries of Great Zimbabwe, painting a picture of an even larger and more organized metropolis than previously imagined. Stone carvings found within the ruins add another layer of intrigue. Soapstone birds carved with delicate wings and detailed features have been uncovered atop walls and within enclosures. Their significance is uncertain. They may have served as religious symbols, representations of clan emblems, or even as talismans connected to ancestral worship. Each carving speaks of a people with aesthetic sensibility, symbolic thought, and a desire to leave a lasting impression upon the landscape. Even the sheer uniformity of the stonework poses questions. Blocks of granite were shaped and stacked with extraordinary precision, their surfaces smoothed and fitted without mortar, yet there are no records of the techniques used to move and position such heavy stones. Experiments with modern tools struggle to replicate the work, suggesting that the builders possessed knowledge, skill, or methods that have since vanished. Each wall, tower, and enclosure stands as both a technical marvel and a silent testament to human ingenuity, now largely forgotten. Excavations have also revealed domestic areas, with evidence of kitchens, grain storage, and living quarters, indicating that Great Zimbabwe was a thriving urban centre. Iron smelting and copper working were practiced within the city, demonstrating technological knowledge that supported both daily life and long-distance trade. Yet much about the city's decline and eventual abandonment remains unknown. Climate change, political shifts, and economic factors likely played a role, but the details are lost to time, leaving the ruins suspended in historical ambiguity. Visitors today can walk among the remains and imagine the scale of life that once thrived there. The massive walls curve around hillsides, casting shadows across open courtyards and terraces. Every stone seems deliberate, yet the absence of written records means the intentions of the builders remain partly hidden. The city's ruins convey achievement, organisation and wealth, yet they withhold many answers, prompting ongoing investigation and speculation. Great Zimbabwe endures as both monument and enigma. Its walls speak of a civilization that mastered architecture, trade and social cohesion, yet its full story escapes complete understanding. Each excavation, each artifact uncovered, provides a glimpse into a past that is vivid and tangible but always incomplete. The city continues to inspire scholars, travellers and storytellers, reminding us that human creativity has long left its mark in forms that challenge comprehension. And as the sun sets over the granite walls, the whispers of Great Zimbabwe's builders still linger among the stones. The Sakara bird, Egypt. To the surprise of those excavating near the Step Pyramid of Sakara in 1898, a small wooden artifact was uncovered. one that would puzzle historians and archaeologists for over a century. Carved from sycamore wood, the object resembles a bird, its wings outstretched and tail sharply angled, as if frozen mid-flight. Measuring just over 5 inches long, it appears delicate and unassuming, yet its design hints at knowledge that seems far ahead of its time. The artifact dates back to approximately 200 BCE, during Egypt's late period, a time of intellectual curiosity and experimentation. Found among the tomb of Padi Imen, it was likely placed as a funerary offering, yet its precise purpose remains unclear. Scholars have speculated that it could have served as a ceremonial object, a symbol of the soul in Egyptian mythology, or even a model of a bird for teaching. The lack of accompanying texts or inscriptions leaves its intention shrouded in ambiguity. What has captured modern attention is the bird's aerodynamic shape. The long tapering tail and the curved wings bear an uncanny resemblance to modern glider designs. Some engineers have tested replicas, discovering that when thrown, the Sakara bird can glide for short distances, maintaining stable flight. This raises a tantalizing question. Did the ancient Egyptians understand principles of aerodynamics, or is the artifact's resemblance to a flying machine coincidental? Experiments with scaled replicas have shown that slight adjustments to the wings or tail dramatically affect stability, suggesting that the original artisans may have intuitively understood these principles. Even small variations in weight distribution or curvature change the flight path, hinting at a sophisticated grasp of balance that seems almost impossibly advanced for a funerary object of its time. In the 1970s, an Egyptian archaeologist named Khalil Messihar reignited interest in the artifact by proposing that the Sakara bird might represent an ancient model of a glider, or even an early concept of powered flight. He noted the absence of legs, which are typical in bird figurines, and the presence of what could be interpreted as a rudder-like tail. His suggestion inspired further experiments, including scaled reconstructions equipped with stabilizers, which demonstrated that the design could sustain short, controlled glides. While mainstream Egyptology remains cautious about such interpretations, these tests illustrate that the artifact's form reflects a striking understanding of balance and air resistance. The material and craftsmanship of the bird are equally remarkable. The sycamore wood was finely carved, polished and joined without nails or adhesives, showcasing advanced woodworking skills. Tiny incisions along the wings and tail hint at an understanding of balance and proportion. The choice of lightweight sycamore and evidence of fine copper tool marks suggest that the artisans carefully considered both material and technique, possibly to create a model capable of gliding. Such precision in a small funerary object suggests that it was more than a decorative piece, though its exact function remains a topic of debate among researchers. Speculating on its purpose, some researchers believe the Sakara bird may have been a teaching tool or demonstration model, allowing observers to study flight mechanics firsthand. Whether intended for ritual, education or experimentation, its design conveys a knowledge that merges observation, artistry, and practical experimentation in a way rarely documented in ancient artifacts. The context of its discovery adds further intrigue. The Sakara bird was buried alongside other ritual items, including statues, amulets, and vessels. Its placement in a tomb implies symbolic significance, potentially connected to Egyptian beliefs about the afterlife and the soul's journey. Birds frequently represented the soul, or Ba, in Egyptian iconography, and their ability to traverse air and land made them potent metaphors for movement between worlds. Unlike typical ritual bird figurines, the Sakara bird's aerodynamic shape sets it apart, hinting at an understanding of flight principles rarely seen in ancient artifacts. Yet why this particular design was chosen remains unknown. Scientific analysis has provided some insights, though not definitive answers. The bird is hollow, which may have been intended to enhance balance during gliding, and microscopic studies show no traces of paint or pigment that would indicate decorative intent. Carbon dating confirms its age at roughly 2,200 years old. These findings affirm its authenticity but deepen the mystery of why it resembles a flying apparatus, a question that has fascinated both historians and aviation enthusiasts alike. Interestingly, later re-examinations using 3D scanning have revealed slight asymmetries in the wing curvature, imperfections that, paradoxically, enhance gliding stability. These modern studies, combined with airflow simulations, show that the Sakara bird's proportions are remarkably close to what modern engineers classify as an efficient low-speed glider. Whether this precision was intentional or a remarkable coincidence remains unknown, yet it underscores the Egyptians' keen observational skills and their ability to encode natural phenomena into art. The bird's continued survival also raises questions about material choice and preservation. Sycamore wood is resistant to decay when kept dry, but the precision of its carving suggests that the artisans anticipated centuries of handling or burial. This intentional durability implies that the Sakara bird was meant to endure, preserving its form, and possibly its knowledge, well beyond the lifespan of its creator. The Sakara bird also highlights the ingenuity of ancient Egyptian artisans. Its form combines artistic sensibility with technical awareness, suggesting that the creators observed birds in flight closely and translated those observations into a tangible model. Whether this represents a purely symbolic gesture or an early experiment in aerodynamics remains unresolved, leaving room for speculation and wonder. Visitors to Sakara and museums displaying replicas are often struck by its small size, contrasted with the sophistication of its design. It exemplifies the Egyptians' ability to blend function, symbolism, and aesthetics into objects that endure through millennia. Even as scholars study every angle, balance, and contour, the artifact continues to defy a simple explanation, resisting classification as either a toy, ritual object, or technical model. For those who study it, the Sakara bird is more than a wooden carving. It embodies a culture that fused spiritual belief with careful observation of the natural world. Its purpose may never be fully understood, but it stands as a reminder that ingenuity and curiosity have long been part of the human experience. Each detail, from its hollow body to its aerodynamic wings, invites questions about what ancient Egyptians knew and how they applied that knowledge. And though centuries have passed, the Sakara bird still whispers of flight in a time before humans took to the skies. The Ubaid lizard figurines, Mesopotamia. In the lowlands of southern Mesopotamia, archaeologists unearthed a collection of small clay figurines that have baffled scholars for decades. Dating back to the Ubaid period, roughly 5000 to 4000 BCE, these artifacts depict humanoid forms with reptilian features, elongated snouts, scaled textures, and sometimes tails. Their hybrid appearance is unlike anything else found in the region, suggesting a symbolic or ritual significance that remains unexplained. The figurines were discovered in residential and temple sites, often carefully placed in pits or corners, hinting at deliberate positioning rather than random discard. Many are small enough to fit in a single hand, yet each exhibits remarkable detail, from the curve of the limbs to the patterns etched on their backs. Excavations show that some figurines were buried alongside domestic tools and pottery, suggesting they may have played a role in household rituals or daily protective practices. The craftsmanship indicates that the makers were skilled artisans capable of blending imagination with technique, but why they chose this unusual lizard-human hybrid form remains a mystery. The figurines' placement and orientation suggest that they were more than mere decorations. Some were positioned to face doorways or central hearths, hinting at protective or guiding functions within households. Others appear to have been grouped in patterns that may symbolize family units, mythological narratives, or cosmological ideas. Each arrangement reinforces the notion that these hybrid figures were integrated into daily and spiritual life, serving as intermediaries between the mundane and the sacred. Among the most notable discoveries came from the site of Tel al-Ubaid itself, where several figurines were found in proximity to temple foundations dedicated to early fertility deities. Some depict female figures holding infants, their reptilian faces juxtaposed with unmistakably maternal poses. This unsettling combination of nurturing imagery and inhuman form has led some archaeologists to propose that the figurines may represent supernatural beings tied to fertility, transformation, or the boundary between life and death. Their deliberate burial within sacred context suggests a ritual act meant to seal or protect something unseen, perhaps invoking forces that the Ubaid believed governed both nature and destiny. Scholars have debated the figurines' purpose since their discovery. Some suggest they were idols used in religious or fertility rituals, while others argue they could have represented protective spirits or mythological beings. Their placement within homes as well as temples implies a role in daily life, yet no written records from the Ubaid culture survive to clarify their function. Every piece seems to carry a story lost to time, leaving only questions and speculation. Close examination of the figurine's surfaces reveals meticulous attention to detail. Incised scales, ridges along limbs, and carefully shaped facial features indicate not only artistic skill, but also an intent to convey meaning through form. In some instances, traces of pigment suggest that colour may have played a symbolic role, perhaps marking social status, ritual function, or spiritual significance. These subtle details hint that the Ubaid people possessed a complex symbolic vocabulary encoded in these miniature forms, one that modern observers can only attempt to interpret. The lizard-like features may hold symbolic meaning. In later Mesopotamian cultures, reptiles were sometimes associated with regeneration, water, and the underworld, suggesting that the Ubaid figurines could reflect early forms of these beliefs. The exaggerated features, the long snouts, wide eyes, and textured scales indicate that they were meant to be noticed, perhaps serving as intermediaries between humans and spiritual or natural forces. Excavation sites have revealed variations among the figurines, with some appearing more human and others more reptilian. This diversity raises questions about whether they represented different roles, statuses, or aspects of a larger mythos. The level of abstraction and imagination is striking, considering the figurines predate written records in the region. They offer a glimpse into a culture capable of complex symbolic thought, even if the meaning of their designs remains elusive. Chemical analysis of the clay and pigments has provided insight into production techniques. The figurines were fired at low temperatures, and some bear traces of paint, suggesting that colour may have been used to highlight features or convey additional meaning. These findings indicate deliberate experimentation, and the care taken in their creation reinforces the sense that they were more than mere toys or decorative objects. Each figure seems purposeful, carefully crafted, and imbued with significance now lost to history. Through high-resolution 3D scans and infrared spectroscopy, recent analyses have detected microscopic organic residues clinging to the figurine surfaces, likely remnants of resins or oils once used in ritual anointing. This discovery hints that the objects may have been handled in ceremonies involving offerings or purification rites. Some figurines also show evidence of intentional breakage before burial, a pattern interpreted as symbolic deactivation, suggesting that once their ritual purpose was fulfilled, they were respectfully retired. Such treatment reinforces the notion that the Ubaid viewed these objects not as static symbols, but as participants in sacred acts bridging the human and divine. The figurine's discovery also raises questions about the worldview of the Ubaid people. Why merge human and reptilian features in the first place? Some researchers speculate it could represent a connection to the natural world, a reverence for animals, or an attempt to embody abstract concepts through physical forms. Comparisons with later Mesopotamian art reveal recurring reptilian motifs, hinting that these early figurines may have influenced symbolic traditions that persisted for centuries. Whatever the reason, the hybridization suggests that the Ubaid people were capable of imaginative and symbolic thinking at a remarkably early stage of civilization. With the aid of advanced imaging and microscopic analysis, modern scholars continue to study the figurines, revealing details invisible to the naked eye. Each new study reveals tiny patterns, tool marks, and traces of pigments that hint at intentional design choices. Yet even with the most sophisticated techniques, the deeper meaning of these objects remains just out of reach. They resist definitive interpretation, a testament to the limits of our understanding and the enduring intrigue of the distant past. The Ubaid lizard figurines are more than archaeological curiosities. They are tangible connections to a world where humans experimented with form, imagination, and symbolic thought long before the invention of writing. Every detail, from the scale textures to the elongated limbs, invites questions about belief, ritual, and creativity in one of the world's earliest civilizations. These small clay figures whisper a story we can only glimpse, a narrative frozen in time yet still alive in the mystery they inspire. Across millennia, the lizard figures continue to watch, silent witnesses to a world that no longer speaks. The Olmec colossal heads, Mesoamerica. Amid the shifting soils of ancient river terraces, massive stone faces loom silently, their presence striking against the horizon like sentinels of a forgotten world. These are the Olmec colossal heads, crafted by one of Mesoamerica's earliest civilizations between 1500 and 400 BCE. Carved from basalt boulders transported from distant quarries, some weighing up to 40 tons, the heads bear witness to the ingenuity, labour, and social organisation of a people whose written records have vanished into time. The heads are unmistakable, broad faces with full lips, flat noses, and deep-set eyes. Each is adorned with a distinct helmet-like headdress, suggesting status, rank, or perhaps a ceremonial role. Despite their immense size and weight, the details are precise, indicating careful planning, advanced carving techniques, and an understanding of proportion that challenges assumptions about early Mesoamerican engineering. How the Olmec transported these massive stones over uneven terrain, rivers, and dense jungle remains a subject of speculation, and no definitive methods have been confirmed. Archaeologists have noted that each head possesses individualized features, implying that they may represent specific rulers or important figures within Olmec society. The variation in expression and facial structure hints at deliberate effort to capture likenesses, not merely generic representations. These faces were likely intended to impress, intimidate, or convey authority, yet no accompanying inscriptions survive to confirm their identities or purposes. The absence of a written explanation amplifies the sense of mystery surrounding their creation. As possible ritual conduits, the colossal heads are thought by some scholars to connect the living with ancestors or deities. Their sheer presence could have imbued the surrounding space with authority or sanctity, making them central to social and ceremonial life. The lack of inscriptions forces us to interpret meaning through placement, size, and expression alone, leaving open the possibility that the heads were as much spiritual symbols as political markers. The placement of the heads adds another layer of intrigue. Many were positioned in ceremonial centres, plazas, or along processional routes, suggesting a connection to public gatherings, religious rites, or political displays. Their locations indicate that the Olmec understood spatial symbolism, aligning massive monuments to enhance social and spiritual influence. Each head seems strategically placed to dominate its environment, a reminder of the civilization's reach and its control over both space and perception. At La Venta and San Lorenzo, two principal Olmec centres, excavations have shown that several colossal heads were later buried or moved, hinting at shifting ritual or political purposes. Some were interred beneath earthen mounds or arranged to face specific directions, possibly aligned with celestial or seasonal events. This act of burial, whether to retire, protect, or ritually close the monuments, hints at a deeper layer of meaning, where the heads may have served as both symbols of power and vessels of spiritual continuity within Olmec cosmology. Transporting and carving the heads would have required significant organisation and labour. Basalt boulders were quarried miles away, then hauled with ropes, wooden sleds, and human or animal power. The scale of effort implies not only technological ingenuity, but also social coordination on a massive scale, hinting at governance and hierarchies sophisticated enough to mobilise entire communities. The logistical accomplishment remains impressive, even to modern engineers who study the methods used. Suggesting careful artistry, evidence of tool marks and subtle finishing touches demonstrates the Olmec's meticulous attention to form and surface. The precision of the carvings indicates knowledge of stress points and the properties of basalt, implying experimentation and iterative refinement. This care hints at an underlying cultural or symbolic importance that may have dictated the way each head was shaped, polished, and ultimately installed. The Olmec colossal heads also raise questions about cultural continuity and influence. Some scholars have drawn parallels between these sculptures and later Mesoamerican art, suggesting that the Olmecs established a visual and symbolic language that shaped subsequent civilizations, including the Maya and the Aztecs. The monumental nature of the heads implies that the Olmec were experimenting with public art as a form of communication, leaving behind enduring symbols whose meanings have been lost to time. Material analysis provides further insight into the creation process. The basalt was likely split using stone tools, hammerstones, and careful scoring. Traces of pigments on several heads indicate they may have been painted, bringing them to life in colour that has long since faded. Such details emphasise that the Olmec were not only skilled engineers, but also artists aware of visual impact, blending functionality, symbolism, and aesthetics in a way that resonates even today. Near the quarry sites, archaeologists have uncovered basalt fragments suggesting that broken or abandoned heads were reworked into smaller figures, their material prized as much as their image. Some researchers propose that the basalt was considered sacred, its transformation through carving a ritual act that infused the stone with spiritual potency. This belief aligns with broader Mesoamerican traditions, where monuments and natural elements were seen as living entities, capable of embodying deities' ancestors or the animating forces of the earth itself. In the vicinity of the monumental heads, the discovery of smaller basalt sculptures prompts inquiries into Olmec notions of scale and hierarchy. Were these miniatures prototypes, offerings, or symbolic counterparts to the colossal forms? Their presence suggests that the Olmec may have explored layers of representation, linking human, artistic, and spiritual realms in ways that remain opaque to modern interpretation. The sheer scale of these monuments continues to fascinate researchers and visitors alike. Standing before a colossal head, one can almost feel the weight of history pressing down, the quiet authority of figures carved thousands of years ago. They're more than stone, they're windows into a civilization that thrived in the humid lowlands, a society capable of monumental feats, yet largely silent to the modern observer. Their presence challenges modern assumptions about the capabilities of early civilizations and invites speculation about the stories and rituals now lost. Every carved line, every carefully modelled cheek and brow tells a fragment of a narrative that cannot be fully reconstructed. The Olmec heads are enduring enigmas, reminders that human ambition and artistic vision have long reached extraordinary heights. Each head holds a story that echoes across time, urging us to consider the lives, beliefs, and achievements of a people who have left behind only stone and mystery. And as the jungle reclaims the earth around them, the Olmec heads watch still, guardians of secrets no one has yet unlocked. The Dropa stones, China. High in the remote mountains of the Bayanhar range, archaeologists uncovered a series of circular stone discs that defy conventional explanation. Known as the Dropa stones, they were reportedly found in a cave at an altitude that few could reach without great effort. Each disc, around 9 inches in diameter, is etched with intricate spiral grooves, and some appear to contain markings resembling tiny hieroglyphs. The discovery suggested a story of contact or culture that remains unresolved and enigmatic. The stones are said to date back thousands of years, with some researchers estimating a timeline far older than the civilizations of the surrounding region. Their origin is unclear, and no written records account for their creation. The precision of the grooves and the uniformity of the carvings suggest a deliberate method, yet no one has been able to determine the tools or techniques used to achieve such exact patterns. The lack of context adds to the intrigue, leaving the stones suspended in mystery. Possibly encoding the heavens, the spirals are thought by some researchers to map star positions, planetary cycles, and seasonal changes. If this theory holds, the Dropa stones could represent an ancient form of celestial record-keeping, a sophisticated understanding of the heavens far ahead of their time. Yet without a decipherable key, any connection to astronomy remains speculative, leaving only the impression of intentional complexity. Each disc bears a central hole, leading some to speculate they were once mounted on rods or spindles. The spiralling lines, etched with minute markings, appear almost like a written language, though no one has yet deciphered it. Anthropologists have noted that the pattern suggests systematic encoding, hinting at communication, documentation, or ceremonial significance. If they were a record, the meaning has been lost, leaving only tantalizing fragments of an unknown story. Within the cave's shadowed walls, excavations uncovered fragments of pottery and primitive tools, hinting that the Dropa stones creators may have maintained a small, organized settlement nearby. The presence of these artifacts hints that the stones were not isolated curiosities, but part of a broader cultural practice, possibly serving ceremonial, astronomical, or record-keeping purposes. Early Chinese reports from the 1930s and 1940s, often attributed to expeditions led by archaeologist Qipu Tei, described the initial discovery of the discs deep within a system of interlinked caves. According to these accounts, the walls of the chambers were lined with rows of neatly stacked stones, as if intentionally placed in patterns or arrangements. Whether these formations were for storage, ritual, or symbolic display remains uncertain, yet the deliberate organisation suggests that the site served a defined purpose rather than being a random deposit of artefacts. The details of these reports, though contested, have fueled decades of intrigue and skepticism alike. Reports of the Dropa stones also mention their unusual material composition. The discs are made from a dark, dense stone, resistant to weathering and difficult to carve, indicating considerable skill and effort. Some accounts suggest that microscopic analysis revealed lines that may have been inscribed with a tool or device unknown to the period, raising questions about the technological capabilities of the people who created them. Whether these discs were practical, symbolic, or ritual objects remains uncertain. With far-reaching implications, the discovery has fueled both scientific curiosity and debate. Some researchers claim the stones were found alongside skeletal remains of unusually small humanoid figures, suggesting a narrative of an unknown group inhabiting the caves. Skeptics, however, question the authenticity of these claims, citing a lack of verifiable documentation. The ambiguity surrounding the discovery only deepens the sense of mystery, creating a story at the intersection of archaeology, legend, and speculation. The reported skeletal remains add a haunting dimension to the narrative. Described as unusually small and delicate, these figures suggest a population unlike any known from the region's archaeological record. Whether these accounts reflect exaggerated storytelling, misidentified human remains, or a genuinely unknown group, they entwine the stones with questions of human, or possibly non-human, presence in the high mountains. In later decades, interest in the Dropa stones extended beyond archaeology into fringe research circles, where claims emerged of faint magnetic or electrical properties detected within the discs. Some laboratory analyses, though never independently verified, reported traces of unusual metallic content such as cobalt or nickel, elements rarely used in ancient artifacts from the region. These results, whether misinterpretations or genuine anomalies, added a scientific mystery to what had previously been a cultural one, suggesting that the discs may contain physical properties not yet fully explained by conventional study. Efforts to study the discs have included photography, rubbings, and microscopic examination. These studies confirm that the grooves are genuine and meticulously carved, with some inscriptions no larger than the head of a pin. Attempts to interpret the markings linguistically have yet to yield definitive results, leaving the idea of a lost language or a form of proto-writing tantalizingly possible. Each new analysis adds pieces to a puzzle that remains frustratingly incomplete. The Dropa stones also challenge assumptions about the isolation of ancient mountain cultures. If authentic, their precision, scale, and possible symbolic content suggest a society capable of detailed record-keeping or ritual expression in an environment that offered limited resources. They hint at the possibility of contact, knowledge transfer, or experimentation far beyond what current understanding allows. The combination of altitude, remoteness, and craftsmanship amplifies the enigma of their creation. For decades, the stones have captivated those interested in ancient mysteries, extraterrestrial theories, and lost civilizations. Their story is a reminder that, even in the most inaccessible regions, human, or possibly non-human ingenuity can leave traces that endure across millennia. Researchers continue to debate whether the discs are evidence of a forgotten culture, a natural anomaly, or an entirely inexplicable phenomenon. Each new generation of study only deepens the allure and uncertainty. The Dropa stones endure as silent witnesses to an unanswered question. Their spiral etchings, precise and enigmatic, offer the faintest glimpse into knowledge that may never be fully understood. Challenging contemporary engineers, even modern attempts at replication fail to reproduce the disc's exact precision and patterning. Every groove, every spiral, resists duplication by contemporary artisans using tools available to ancient cultures, suggesting a technique or understanding now lost. The stone's enduring mystery lies not only in their origin but in the knowledge they embody, a knowledge that seems to vanish the moment we try to grasp it. Secrets of a distant, forgotten past that resists full revelation are whispered by the Dropa stones high in the mountains. The Yonaguni Monument, Japan. Off the coast of Yonaguni, Japan, a massive underwater structure rises from the waves, carved from natural sandstone yet arranged in geometric formations that ignite both debate and fascination. First brought to attention in the late 1980s by diver Kiichiro Aratake and later explored by marine geologist Masaki Kimura, the site features terraces, steps, platforms, and what appear to be walls, all submerged at depths of 25 to 30 meters. The largest terrace rises several meters above the seabed, with sharp edges and flat surfaces that seem unlikely to occur solely through erosion. Straight lines and right angles suggest intentional shaping, while parallel grooves and channels hint at purpose beyond natural formation. Skeptics argue that earthquakes and underwater landslides could produce some of these features, yet the precision of certain angles and the regularity of the terraces leave many experts unconvinced. During the last ice age, some researchers propose the Yonaguni monument may represent the remains of a submerged city when sea levels were significantly lower. If true, it would suggest that an advanced culture existed in this region more than 10,000 years ago, predating most known civilizations. Tools, pottery shards, and carvings resembling faces and figures have been found nearby, though their connection to the terraces remains inconclusive. Radiocarbon dating of organic material in nearby sediment layers suggests that human activity in the region could date back over 12,000 years, supporting the idea that parts of the monument may have been constructed when the land was above sea level. On several surfaces of the monument, faint carvings resembling symbols or characters have been observed by researchers, though erosion and marine incrustation obscure their meaning. Underwater photography has captured what appear to be linear markings that could represent primitive inscriptions or decorative motifs, though others insist they are the result of natural fissures in the sandstone. These faint traces, whether intentional or coincidental, keep alive the possibility that the site once held cultural or ceremonial meaning to early inhabitants before the rising seas claimed it. The scale of the site is staggering. Steps that span tens of meters, terraces reaching over 70 meters across, and formations resembling pyramidal structures invite speculation about ritual, administrative, or residential use. The monument's size implies planning and coordination, whether by human hands or natural forces, yet there is no definitive evidence to confirm either scenario. Each dive into the site raises more questions than it answers, as new features are discovered while others remain obscured by currents and sediment. Marine life now inhabits much of the structure, coating surfaces with coral and algae, which further complicates the interpretation of its design. Layers of sediment have preserved some features while obscuring others, leaving divers to piece together fragments of what may have been a coherent complex. The interaction of natural forces and possible human activity creates a puzzle where geology and archaeology intersect in ways that are rarely clear-cut. Geologists studying the site note that the region's tectonic activity could explain some of the terraces and formations. Still, the presence of straight lines, right angles, and a series of steps carved across multiple levels is difficult to attribute solely to natural processes. The combination of flat planes, precise angles, and features resembling roads or walls challenges conventional explanations, suggesting that human hands may have interacted with the landscape long before written history in the region. Further analysis indicates that repeated seismic events may have both exposed and reshaped the terraces over millennia, blending natural forces with possible human construction in ways that make definitive conclusions difficult. Further intrigue arises from discoveries of nearby stone alignments on land, positioned along the Yonaguni coastline and seemingly oriented toward the submerged terraces. Some of these formations bear resemblance to megalithic structures elsewhere in Japan, leading to speculation that they might have formed part of a broader ritual or architectural tradition now largely erased by time. If connected, these alignments could suggest that Yonaguni was once a coastal centre of early maritime culture, its monuments later swallowed by the same ocean that preserved their mystery. Cultural interpretations add another layer to the mystery. Local legends speak of sunken cities and lost civilizations, tales that resonate with the enigmatic appearance of the terraces and platforms. Whether these stories inspired later interpretations or echo an oral memory of ancient activity, they contribute to the monument's aura, blending archaeology, geology, and folklore into a complex narrative that continues to captivate researchers and enthusiasts alike. Exploration of the Yonaguni monument continues to this day, with divers, archaeologists, and scientists seeking clarity on the site's origin, purpose, and age. Detailed mapping, sonar imaging, and underwater excavation have revealed new terraces and potential pathways, yet conclusive evidence of a constructed city remains elusive. Each discovery adds pieces to a puzzle that is simultaneously tangible and intangible, a structure both real and enigmatic. The Yonaguni monument stands as a silent enigma beneath the waves, a place where the line between human design and natural creation is indistinct. Its terraces, steps, and formations beckon inquiry while withholding certainty, reminding us of the mysteries that lie submerged, waiting to be interpreted. Each dive and survey seems to deepen the sense that Yonaguni is both a record of natural forces and a potential testament to human ingenuity lost to time. The interplay of erosion, tectonics, and possible construction blurs the boundary between geology and archaeology, leaving observers suspended between skepticism and wonder. Whether entirely natural or partially crafted, the monument evokes questions about civilizations that may have existed in prehistory, challenging our understanding of human history and the depths at which its traces can be hidden. Examining the site from above, some researchers note subtle patterns in the arrangement of terraces and platforms that appear too orderly to be entirely natural, alignments that hint at intentional measurement, proportional spacing, or symbolic orientation. These faint cues suggest that, even if human hands played a role, much of the design may have been modified or obscured by millennia of geological activity, leaving only fragments of purpose visible today. The site remains a place where the past seems to murmur just beyond reach, teasing us with the possibility of lost knowledge hidden beneath the ocean's surface. The terraces and steps remain submerged, whispering of a civilization that may have vanished beneath the waves long before anyone could record it. The Copper Scroll of Qumran, Israel. The desert wind swept across the hills of Qumran, carrying with it the weight of centuries. Nestled along the northern shore of the Dead Sea, this rugged landscape had long been home to monastic communities, isolated scribes, and now an enigma that continues to defy explanation. In 1952, archaeologists exploring the ancient caves of Qumran unearthed a series of scrolls that would reshape our understanding of the past. Among them, one stood apart from all the others, not because of its content, but because of its very form. Unlike the fragile papyrus and parchment scrolls, this one was made entirely of copper. The copper scroll appeared at first glance to be an inventory, a detailed list of hidden treasures scattered across the Judean hills. Its text, etched deeply into thin sheets of copper, described gold, silver, and precious artifacts in precise locations. Some items were said to be buried in caves, others hidden beneath graves and under ancient temples. Yet, the allure of the scroll lies not just in the treasures it promises, but in the impossibility of finding them. Despite decades of excavations, no one has ever recovered a single item mentioned in the text. What makes the scroll particularly baffling is its style. Unlike the poetic and religious tone of other Dead Sea texts, this scroll is strikingly practical. Coordinates, measurements, and distances dominate its language. It reads almost like a treasure map written for an elite few. Scholars have debated whether it refers to real hoards or is a symbolic record, a coded message for a sect that wished to obscure their wealth from outsiders. The precision of its directions suggests familiarity with the terrain, yet when modern treasure hunters and researchers attempt to follow them, they encounter nothing but barren rock and shifting sands. Even the very creation of the scroll raises questions. Crafting letters into thin copper sheets requires a level of metallurgical skill uncommon for the time. The engravings remain remarkably clear despite the corrosion of 2 millennia. Some experts argue that the artisans of Qumran possessed advanced techniques long forgotten by modern historians. How they hammered, cut, and etched the metal with such precision is a puzzle that has inspired speculation ranging from lost ancient technologies to divine intervention. Curiously, the copper scroll was found in 2 separate pieces, rolled tightly and corroded over centuries, which has made translating it a painstaking process. Early researchers had to painstakingly cut through the oxidized layers to read the inscriptions, a method that risked damaging the fragile metal. Some letters were missing or indecipherable, leaving gaps that have fueled decades of speculation. Every fragment uncovered seemed to deepen the enigma, hinting at treasures so vast and meticulously catalogued that they challenge modern understanding of wealth, power, and secrecy in the ancient world. Scholars have also puzzled over the scroll's dating. While most Qumran scrolls are linked to the Essene community around the 2nd century BCE, the copper scroll seems to occupy a strange temporal niche. Its linguistic style differs from the Hebrew of its neighbours, blending archaic forms with unique vocabulary. This has led some researchers to suggest it might have been composed later, possibly even as a deliberate attempt to mislead or protect knowledge about sacred or hidden caches. The scroll exists in a liminal space between history and legend, a tangible object pointing to secrets that may never be revealed. Efforts to decode its references have produced theories both mundane and extraordinary. Some claim the treasures belong to the Temple of Jerusalem, secreted away before its destruction. Others argue the list is allegorical, representing spiritual wealth rather than material gain. Adventurers have pored over maps, climbed treacherous cliffs, and explored deep caves, yet the copper remains stubbornly silent about its secrets. Each failed attempt adds to its mystique, as if the scroll itself guards its knowledge against human greed or misunderstanding. Beyond the physical hunt, the scroll carries a symbolic weight. It challenges assumptions about what ancient civilizations valued and how they safeguarded their wealth. It hints at networks of hidden knowledge, rituals of secrecy, and a sophisticated understanding of the landscape. Every line etched in copper is a whisper from the past, suggesting a world in which treasures were not just possessions, but keys to power, faith, or survival. The locations noted in the scroll have been scrutinized with modern mapping technology, as investigators look for clues buried in the landscape. Valleys, cliffs, and ancient pathways mentioned in the text sometimes correspond loosely to geographic features still visible today, yet no excavation has yielded the treasures promised. This ambiguity has led some to wonder whether the scroll's instructions were intentionally obscure, a coded language designed to protect the wealth, or whether the treasures were moved, looted, or lost over the centuries, leaving only copper as testimony. The scroll's uniqueness also lies in its enduring influence on both scholarship and imagination. Unlike other Dead Sea texts, it blurs the line between history, archaeology, and legend, inspiring novels, documentaries, and treasure hunts that span decades. Its copper sheets, etched with meticulous care, act as a bridge to a vanished world, suggesting knowledge and practices that remain tantalizingly out of reach. Even as modern technology offers new methods of exploration, the copper scroll preserves its secrets, a metallic whisper that defies the passage of time. Exploring the terrain, recent surveys and expeditions in the Judean hills have sought to reconcile the scroll's directions with the modern landscape. Researchers have mapped valleys, caves, and ancient pathways, yet each attempt yields partial matches at best. Shifting terrain, erosion, and centuries of human activity obscure the precise locations described in the text, making any direct recovery nearly impossible. The copper inscriptions act as a temporal bridge, linking an ancient world with our present, while simultaneously resisting comprehension. The copper scroll also continues to challenge historians' assumptions about record-keeping and secrecy in antiquity. Its combination of metallurgical skill, geographic knowledge, and detailed enumeration of treasure hints at a level of administrative sophistication rarely attributed to small sects like the Essenes. Whether the scroll was a practical guide, a symbolic ledger, or a deliberate puzzle, it preserves an enduring tension between what is recorded and what is attainable, between human ambition and the impermanence of material wealth. The copper letters whisper across the centuries, yet the riches they describe have never answered. The Roman dodecahedrons, Europe. In the quiet corners of Europe, in fields and riverbeds long abandoned to history, strange objects lie buried waiting for discovery. Across France, Germany, and beyond, archaeologists have unearthed small, hollow bronze shapes, 12-sided and meticulously crafted. These are the Roman dodecahedrons, objects that appear to be deliberately made, but whose purpose remains one of antiquity's most puzzling mysteries. Unlike monumental architecture or engraved tablets, these artifacts leave no written explanation, offering only their form to hint at their intent. Each dodecahedron measures between a few centimeters to nearly 12, with a ring at each corner and circular holes of varying diameters punched into every face. The precision of their manufacture suggests careful planning, not the casual handiwork of a hobbyist or child. Researchers have examined the metal composition, finding alloys typical of Roman craftsmanship, Yet the uniformity and care suggest these items held significance far beyond mere decoration, and yet for all the study, no inscription, no instruction manual, no contemporary account has ever been found to illuminate their purpose. The theories surrounding these dodecahedrons are as varied as they are speculative. Some believe they were measuring tools used by surveyors or engineers to calculate distances, angles, or even astronomical phenomena. Others propose a more practical use, perhaps as knitting devices for the thick, coarse yarn of Roman gloves, as some experiments suggest the holes could guide thread. Then some imagine ritualistic functions, tools for divination, or ceremonial acts whose meanings were understood only by a select few. None of these explanations can be proven, leaving the objects suspended in a space between utility and ritual, science and superstition. Remarkably, some dodecahedrons show traces of wear that hint at repeated handling, suggesting they were not merely ceremonial objects stored on shelves. Microscopic analysis reveals scratches and polish and patterns consistent with rotation or insertion of rods or threads, lending weight to the idea of a functional purpose. Yet no single theory can fully account for the diversity of wear across specimens, leaving room for speculation that they may have served multiple roles, both practical and symbolic depending on the region or owner. In regions once under Roman control, dodecahedrons are found primarily, yet they also appear sporadically, with no clear pattern to their distribution. Some have been discovered near forts, others in agricultural lands, and still more by chance during construction or excavation. Their placement hints at a function intertwined with daily life or regional practice, yet no pattern matches modern logic. Every discovery deepens the enigma, raising questions about the lost knowledge of Roman artisans and the purposes they encoded in bronze. Even the construction of the dodecahedrons invites fascination. Each hole, each edge, and every curve appears intentional. The variation in hole sizes across different specimens suggests adaptability, perhaps to different tasks or materials. Experimental archaeologists have attempted to replicate them, discovering the difficulty of achieving such symmetry without modern tools. The effort required implies that their makers valued precision and skill, and that these items were not casual tools but were objects of considered design, their function important enough to justify the labour. Despite centuries of scholarly curiosity, no definitive answer has emerged. Museums display the artifacts, their silent geometry inspiring wonder and debate. The absence of inscriptions forces observers to confront the limits of knowledge, reminding us that history often leaves tantalizing gaps. Each dodecahedron embodies a question rather than an answer, a puzzle intentionally or incidentally preserved in bronze for millennia. The objects challenge assumptions about Roman technology, culture, and daily life, hinting at a sophistication that modern researchers can only glimpse, never fully grasp. The allure of the dodecahedrons lies not just in their mystery, but in their quiet defiance of explanation. They're a testament to a civilization whose remnants can still confound us, a reminder that ancient people were capable of ingenuity that may not fit into our categories of functional belief. Scholars continue to study them, theorists continue to speculate, and collectors continue to admire, yet the objects themselves remain silent. Each discovery feels like an invitation to imagine, to probe, to wonder, but never to conclude. Beyond their geometric form, some researchers have noted subtle variations in size, weight, and hole placement among dodecahedrons, suggesting customization for individual use or symbolic distinction. These differences hint that the objects may have carried personal significance, perhaps as markers of status, profession, or membership within specialized groups, yet any such associations are purely speculative. The lack of corroborating evidence leaves the mind wandering across possibilities that may never be confirmed. Experimental studies attempting to recreate the dodecahedrons have revealed that even slight deviations in dimensions compromise symmetry, implying a level of craftsmanship and attention to detail that rivals modern techniques. This meticulous precision, combined with their mysterious distribution, reinforces the sense that these objects were more than mere curiosities, but artifacts imbued with meaning that transcends our understanding of Roman daily life. The Roman dodecahedrons continue to captivate not only scholars, but anyone drawn to the unknown. Their quiet presence challenges our assumptions about the everyday objects of antiquity, hinting at knowledge, symbolism, or utility that has been lost to time. Each artifact, with its precise geometry and enigmatic wear, stands as a testament to the ingenuity and curiosity of a civilization whose understanding of the world remains partially obscured, inviting us to imagine the hands that shaped them and the minds that found meaning in them. Investigating their use, some scholars have explored the possibility that dodecahedrons served multiple purposes over time, evolving from practical tools to ritual objects as social or cultural contexts changed. The variation in size, weight, and hole diameter among specimens could reflect adaptation to different tasks or symbolic meanings, suggesting a fluidity of use rather than a single fixed function. Each discovery adds a layer of complexity, reminding us that ancient objects often carried meanings that shifted across regions and generations. Modern experiments with replicas continue to reveal the ingenuity of Roman craftsmanship. When rotated, threaded, or aligned with specific angles, the dodecahedrons demonstrate unexpected stability and mechanical properties, hinting that their design may have encompassed knowledge of physics or engineering beyond what contemporary records reveal. Such studies reinforce the idea that these objects were intentionally constructed to perform tasks or convey concepts that remain partially lost to time. The bronze shapes sit in their cases and soil alike, guardians of a secret the centuries have refused to reveal. The crystal skulls, Mesoamerica. Deep in the dense jungles of Mesoamerica, archaeologists stumbled upon objects that seemed almost otherworldly. Smooth, translucent, and eerily lifelike, the crystal skulls defied explanation from the moment they emerged from ancient tombs and ceremonial sites. Crafted from clear quartz, each skull is an astonishing feat of artistry, with features so precise that they resemble real human anatomy, from teeth to eye sockets. Yet, their perfection is not just aesthetic. It hints at skills that seem far beyond the tools available to the civilizations that supposedly created them. The skulls have been found across Mexico and Central America, often in burial contexts alongside relics of the Maya and Aztec worlds. Some are small enough to fit in the palm of a hand, others are larger than life, imposing in both size and presence. What fascinates experts is the quality of the workmanship. Modern technology struggles to replicate these skulls without leaving tool marks, yet microscopic examination of the originals reveals surfaces polished with an almost impossible smoothness. No conventional abrasives could account for such clarity, giving rise to speculation that their makers possessed techniques lost to history. Historians and scientists have long debated their age. Carbon dating cannot directly apply to quartz, leaving researchers to estimate their origins based on associated artifacts and site context. Some believe the skulls date back over 1,000 years, while others suggest they may be older, perhaps relics of civilizations predating the Maya. The uncertainty only fuels the mystique, turning the skulls into symbols of a forgotten knowledge, a skill set that transcends the capabilities attributed to pre-Columbian peoples. The question is not only who made them, but how and why. Legends surround the crystal skulls, whispering of supernatural power. Mesoamerican myths often portray skulls as conduits between the living and the dead, vessels for spirits or cosmic energy. Some modern enthusiasts claim the skulls emit energy or even store ancient wisdom, though scientific investigation finds no measurable force. Yet the human fascination persists. Each skull seems to project an uncanny aura, as if aware of the observer and silently guarding its secrets. For those who gaze into the perfectly carved eye sockets, there is a feeling of being watched across time. The purpose of the skulls remains elusive. Were they religious icons, objects of ritual, or ceremonial offerings to deities? Some researchers argue they were tools of divination, used to peer into the future or commune with the underworld. Others suspect they were crafted purely for status, a demonstration of skill meant to impress or intimidate. Whatever their original intent, the skulls carry a weight that transcends their material, drawing attention to the spiritual and technical sophistication of their makers. They are simultaneously beautiful, terrifying, and incomprehensible. Adding to the enigma, a few skulls display anomalies that challenge conventional archaeology. Some have holes drilled with extreme precision, while others exhibit internal fractures that appear intentional, as if their creators were manipulating not only form but internal structure. Chemical analysis suggests the quartz was sourced from distant regions, implying trade networks or journeys unknown to historians. The logistics of acquiring, shaping and polishing such hard material with rudimentary tools defy belief, prompting some to suggest lost technologies or influences from unknown civilizations. It has been observed by some researchers that the skull's proportions often align with anatomical symmetry found in human skulls, raising the possibility that the creators possessed sophisticated understanding of human physiology. Whether this was purely artistic mastery, ritual significance, or a coded symbolic system remains unknown, leaving the mind to wander across possibilities that may never be verified. Trials with carefully crafted replicas demonstrate that attaining the original's flawless finish is no small feat. Attempts using modern tools still fall short of reproducing the smoothness and detail without leaving microscopic traces, suggesting that the makers of the authentic skulls employed techniques, knowledge, or materials that have been lost to time. Collectors, adventurers and museums have safeguarded many of the skulls, yet controversies abound. Some claim discoveries have been exposed as modern forgeries, blurring the line between authentic artifacts and fabricated wonders. Despite this, the most convincing examples continue to inspire awe, preserving their enigmatic presence. Each skull seems to demand respect, a silent challenge to anyone who attempts to fully understand it. Their clarity, craftsmanship, and mysterious history make them more than relics. They are puzzles frozen in crystal. Even in quiet galleries or private collections, the skulls retain a haunting presence. Scholars continue to analyze, skeptics continue to doubt, and seekers continue to marvel, yet the skulls withhold definitive answers. Their allure lies in the impossibility of fully grasping their origin, their purpose, or the methods used to create them. They exist as enduring enigmas, artifacts that bridge the tangible and the impossible, reminding us that the past may hold knowledge far beyond what we can imagine. It has been observed by some researchers that the skull's proportions often align with anatomical symmetry found in human skulls, raising the possibility that the creators possessed sophisticated understanding of human physiology. Whether this was purely artistic mastery, ritual significance, or a coded symbolic system remains unknown, leaving the mind to wander across possibilities that may never be verified. Trials with carefully crafted replicas demonstrate that attaining the original's flawless finish is no small feat. Attempts using modern tools still fall short of reproducing the smoothness and detail without leaving microscopic traces, suggesting that the makers of the authentic skulls employed techniques, knowledge, or materials that have been lost to time. Across generations of study and fascination, the crystal skulls continue to push the boundaries of what we think human hands could achieve. Their silent perfection challenges our assumptions about ancient civilizations, hinting at knowledge that may have been lost or deliberately concealed. Each discovery invites contemplation, urging us to consider not only the technical prowess of their creators, but also the mysteries of the cultures that venerated, protected, or perhaps even feared them. The crystal eyes stare silently through centuries, guarding a wisdom that refuses to be spoken. The London Hammer, Texas, USA. Few artifacts have provoked as much debate as the hammer discovered near London, Texas. At first glance it looked unremarkable, a simple wooden handle and iron head, but the circumstances of its discovery were extraordinary. Encased in solid rock, the tool appeared to predate human history by millions of years. The hammer itself is deceptively ordinary. Its wooden shaft shows signs of wear, and the iron head is shaped like tools still used in construction today. The metal contains trace elements unusual for modern alloys, and the surrounding rock shows a degree of mineralization that would typically take eons. How a common tool could find itself locked in stone formed long before humans existed has confounded geologists, historians, and archaeologists alike. From the moment of its discovery in 1936, the hammer ignited controversy. Skeptics argued that it had been accidentally embedded in more recent rock, or that it was a simple hoax. However, detailed studies of the concretion surrounding the tool revealed patterns consistent with natural mineralization over immense timescales. Conventional explanations struggle to account for the combination of modern craftsmanship and prehistoric enclosure. Interestingly, the hammer's iron head contains traces of unusual alloys that suggest a method of forging not consistent with known 19th century techniques. Tiny inclusions of other metals, coupled with a crystalline structure formed under slow cooling, imply a level of metallurgical knowledge that was previously thought impossible for the period it resembles. This discovery raises the possibility that the tool was crafted with knowledge or technology far ahead of its supposed time, adding another layer of intrigue to an already confounding artifact. The context of the find only deepens the mystery. Unlike other ancient artifacts discovered in burial sites or ruins, this hammer was encased in rock that contained no other human-made objects. Its isolation suggests it was lost, or placed, long before there was any known civilization capable of producing it. Attempts to replicate the mineralization process under laboratory conditions have failed, leaving open the possibility that the hammer's journey into stone involved forces or circumstances we do not yet understand. Suggested by some researchers are extraordinary theories. Could the hammer be evidence of a lost advanced civilization, one that existed far earlier than conventional history allows? Others speculate about natural geological phenomena that might mimic encasement, though none can fully account for the details. Each hypothesis encounters contradictions, forcing scholars to accept that, for now, the artifact resists explanation. Its very presence challenges assumptions about the age of tools, human ingenuity, and the possibility of knowledge lost to time. What's more puzzling is the microscopic analysis of the surrounding stone. Tiny fossilized particles within the rock matrix indicate it formed in an environment devoid of human activity, yet the hammer sits perfectly embedded as if intentionally placed. Experiments attempting to replicate this natural encasement fail to produce anything remotely similar, leaving open the unsettling notion that the hammer's presence is an anomaly that may never be fully explained. Each test seems only to underscore the impossibility of its existence. Closer inspection of the hammer itself uncovers evidence of practical use. The shaft shows subtle indentations, and the metal head carries marks suggesting it was more than ceremonial. Whoever wielded it treated it as a functional instrument, yet the context of its fossilization makes this use appear impossibly ancient. It is a paradox, a familiar object behaving as expected, yet situated in a reality that defies expectation. The hammer has travelled through the hands of collectors, museums, and curious observers, each study deepening the sense of awe and frustration. Attempts to reconcile its age with its design raise fundamental questions about chronology. Could humans, or beings with human-like skills, have existed millions of years ago? Or is there a natural explanation so unusual that it has eluded even modern science? Each time the hammer is examined, it challenges the very framework through which we understand history. Wherever it rests, whether in display cases or private collections, the London hammer continues to radiate a silent challenge. It refuses to be neatly categorized, defying logic and timeline alike. For those who study it, it is more than metal and wood. It is a symbol of the unknown, a reminder that the past may hold secrets that remain stubbornly inaccessible. Every angle, every mineralized crevice, hints at a story lost to time, a narrative that exists at the edges of possibility. Further chemical analysis of the iron head has revealed unusual traces of vanadium and tungsten, elements rarely found in combination in artifacts of any known era. These trace metals could indicate a forging process far more advanced than standard historical techniques, suggesting that whoever made the hammer may have had access to knowledge or resources that remain mysterious to this day. Studies of the wooden handle have uncovered preserved cellular structures, allowing dendrochronologists to attempt age estimates independent of the surrounding stone. While results remain inconclusive, the wood's remarkable preservation implies conditions of mineralization and sedimentation that are extremely rare, hinting at a unique combination of geological and environmental factors that may have allowed the hammer to endure virtually unchanged for an incomprehensible span of time. Even more curious are the microscopic scratches and wear patterns on the hammer's head, which indicate repeated contact with hard materials. Metallurgists have noted that the angles and depth of these marks do not match typical corrosion or random sediment abrasion, suggesting the tool was actively used before it became encased in stone. This observation challenges the notion that it could have been an accidental inclusion in a prehistoric rock formation, reinforcing the puzzle of how an apparently ordinary implement achieved such an extraordinary preservation. The hammer's discovery site itself offers few clues yet raises further questions. Geological surveys reveal that the surrounding limestone deposits originated in a period when North America was submerged under shallow seas. Fossil records from the same strata indicate marine life, not terrestrial activity, making the presence of a human-made tool in the rock almost impossible under conventional timelines. Some researchers have proposed that the hammer was somehow transported into the mineral-rich layer through unknown natural processes, but these hypotheses remain speculative and unable to account for the precise encasement observed. In the historical record, occasional reports emerge of out-of-time tools in other regions, though few match the documentation or preservation of the London hammer. Comparative studies of similar artifacts suggest that if the hammer is genuine, it may point to an unknown chapter in technological history, one in which humans or human-like beings possessed knowledge of metallurgy and tool-making far earlier than recognized. Each analysis, each experiment, seems only to magnify the artifact's enigma, leaving scholars with the unsettling realization that the hammer occupies a liminal space between the plausible and the impossible. Encased for eons, the hammer waits silently, a relic that refuses to bow to the rules of time. The Mount Owen Claw, New Zealand. The Mount Owen Claw is unlike anything science has ever catalogued. Preserved in a mummified state rather than fossilized, the keratin and bone remain intact, defying expectations of decay over tens of thousands of years. Its size and curvature suggest a predator far larger than any known in New Zealand, yet no species matches its structure. Researchers are baffled not only by what it reveals about a lost creature, but by the inexplicable way it survived, offering a glimpse of a world that should have vanished without a trace. Analysis of the claw reveals details that make its mystery even more compelling. The curvature is perfectly adapted for gripping and tearing, while the base shows clear points of muscle attachment, indicating a creature built for power and agility. Every microscopic groove and ridge appears purposeful, evidence of evolution's precision. Yet the lack of any corresponding species in the fossil record leaves the artifact suspended between the known and unknown, a biological enigma preserved in near-perfect form. Dating the claw has proven exceptionally difficult. The surrounding sediments suggest an age of tens of thousands of years, placing it well before human settlement in New Zealand. Yet its mummified state seems impossible to reconcile with such a timeline. Standard fossilization processes would have replaced organic material with minerals long ago. The preservation defies conventional explanation, prompting theories ranging from unusual microclimates in the cave to chemical processes not yet fully understood by science. When compared to other finds, isolated specimens in New Zealand caves hint at a small, previously unrecognized population of similar predators. Fossil fragments discovered nearby, though incomplete and difficult to classify, show claw morphologies that resemble the Mount Owen specimen, suggesting that it may not have been a singular anomaly but a survivor of a lost lineage. The lack of comprehensive skeletal remains, however, leaves researchers piecing together an incomplete story from tantalizing fragments. Chemical analysis of the claw's surface has revealed traces of rare minerals not typically found in the surrounding cave deposits. These minerals may have played a role in slowing decomposition, yet their exact contribution remains unknown. The unexpected combination of these elements with the stable cave environment has created a natural preservation chamber, unlike anything seen elsewhere, raising questions about whether other similarly preserved specimens might still lie undiscovered in Mount Owen's labyrinthine passages. Analysed isotopically, the claw's keratin shows unusual nitrogen and carbon ratios, suggesting a diet unlike any known species in the area's prehistoric ecosystem. These findings suggest the creature occupied a unique ecological niche, potentially preying on animals thought to be apex predators themselves. This raises the possibility that Mount Owen supported an ecosystem far more complex and enigmatic than conventional paleontological models acknowledge. The claw also carries subtle marks that hint at its use. Tiny scratches along its edge suggest predatory activity, evidence that the creature was an active hunter rather than a scavenger. Its design is terrifyingly efficient, a weapon evolved for survival in a harsh, competitive ecosystem. Researchers speculate that Mount Owen and its surrounding ranges may have harboured species lost to time, creatures adapted to environments so remote and specialised that they left behind almost no trace, save for artefacts like this single claw. Complicating the story further is the claw's unexpected combination of size and delicacy. Though large enough to suggest a formidable predator, it retains fine structural details, from keratin layers to tiny grooves along the bone. Such preservation has allowed scientists to study aspects of musculature and joint mechanics normally inaccessible in fossilised specimens. Each new analysis seems only to deepen the enigma, revealing a creature more sophisticated than anyone anticipated, and a preservation method science cannot fully explain. Inspired speculation far beyond paleontology has the Mount Owen claw. Some theorists suggest it could belong to a giant previously unknown bird, while others hypothesize a mammalian predator unlike anything recorded. Mainstream science urges caution, yet the anomaly refuses to be ignored. Its existence hints at an ecosystem and evolutionary history far richer than the fossil record indicates, suggesting that parts of Earth's past remain hidden, waiting to be uncovered. Further examination has revealed microscopic mineral deposits on the claw that may have contributed to its extraordinary preservation. These deposits, combined with the cave's stable temperature and humidity, likely played a role, yet no experiment has fully replicated the result. The claw sits as both evidence and question, a fragment of a predator whose story has been mostly lost, yet whose physical presence continues to challenge the limits of understanding. Even as researchers analyze its every detail, the Mount Owen claw retains an aura of the unexplained. Its size, function, and preservation defy conventional categorization, standing as a relic of a creature that should not exist in any scientific framework. It is a tangible reminder that the world once harbored life forms beyond our imagining, and that nature's history is more complex and stranger than we are often willing to accept. Advanced imaging has uncovered microscopic striations along the claw's surface that suggest it may have interacted with other, hard surfaces, possibly indicating combat or territorial behaviour. These subtle marks are not consistent with accidental wear, and hint at the creature's behaviour, offering a rare glimpse into the life of an organism otherwise absent from the fossil record. Trace organic residues preserved within the claw contain protein fragments unlike any sequence from modern or known extinct species. While inconclusive, these molecular clues suggest the Mount Owen predator may have possessed a unique physiology, further deepening the gap between what science knows and what the artifact implies about New Zealand's prehistoric fauna. Delving further into the cave, researchers have uncovered sediment layers and fossilized droppings that might connect to the claw's owner dot. Though fragmentary, these traces provide indirect evidence of behaviour, movement patterns, and habitat preference. Yet every attempt to correlate these findings with known species only amplifies the mystery, leaving the claw as the most compelling and complete record of a creature that challenges our understanding of life in ancient New Zealand. The claw has been found to contain tiny mineral deposits that may explain its extraordinary preservation. These deposits, combined with the cave's stable temperature and humidity, likely played a role, yet no experiment has fully replicated the result. The claw sits as both evidence and question, a fragment of a predator whose story has been mostly lost, yet whose physical presence continues to challenge the limits of understanding. Sharp, preserved, and silent, the claw endures as proof that some creatures leave more questions than answers. The Cave of the Giants, Georgia, Caucasus. Deep within the rugged mountains of the Caucasus lies a cavern that has fascinated explorers and scholars alike. Within its shadowed chambers, archaeologists uncovered skeletal remains of humanoid proportions unlike anything known to science. The bones are massive, suggesting individuals far taller and broader than modern humans, yet their age and origin remain a puzzle. The Cave of the Giants seems to guard evidence of beings that defy conventional anthropology, a hidden chapter of human history lost beneath layers of rock and time. The skeletal remains themselves are astonishing. Femurs, skulls, and rib cages measure significantly larger than any recorded human, with bone density that suggests immense physical strength. Even more perplexing is the context. The bones were found in a formation that allows for accurate dating, yet their characteristics do not align with any known hominid lineage. Researchers struggle to reconcile these measurements with established evolutionary models, leaving the cave shrouded in questions rather than answers. Unusual and perplexing, the skeletal structure contains anomalies that some researchers have noted, defying easy explanation. Certain joints exhibit ranges of motion far beyond what modern humans are capable of, while skull sutures suggest growth patterns unlike any known hominid. These physical traits hint at adaptations to a lifestyle or environment entirely unknown, raising the possibility that the giants were not merely larger humans, but a distinct population with unique physiology. Adding to the enigma, the bones show signs of careful arrangement, as if the cave itself had been used deliberately rather than coincidentally. Some skulls were placed on ledges, while others lay alongside large stone tools whose origins remain unclear. The presence of these artifacts hints at a civilization or culture previously unknown, one that may have possessed knowledge and skills lost to time. Every discovery seems to deepen the mystery, suggesting that the cave was more than a resting place. It may have been a site of ritual or significance. The remains dating further complicates the story, suggesting a timeline that may challenge our understanding of human presence in the region. Radiocarbon analysis places some of the bones tens of thousands of years old far earlier than the arrival of modern humans in the region, yet their morphology is startlingly advanced, with cranial capacity suggesting intelligence comparable to ours. This juxtaposition of antiquity and sophistication has fueled speculation about lost branches of humanity, populations that existed alongside early Homo sapiens but left behind little trace except these extraordinary skeletal fragments. Across various sites, researchers have observed unusual preservation patterns. Despite the passage of millennia, many bones retain structural integrity, rarely observed in fossils of comparable age. Some show evidence of mineralization that stabilized them, while others appear almost intact, allowing for detailed study of joint articulation and musculature. These preservation anomalies raise questions about the cave's environment, suggesting conditions uniquely suited to maintaining organic material far longer than typical geological processes would allow. The tools and artifacts found alongside the remains are equally baffling. Stone implements show craftsmanship beyond the expected capabilities of a contemporaneous population, while other objects hint at symbolic or ritualistic use. No written records or cultural artifacts from the surrounding regions provide context for these items, leaving only speculation about their purpose. Scholars debate whether these tools were practical, ceremonial, or both, but the answer remains elusive, obscured by the passage of time and the absence of corroborating evidence. The Cave of the Giants has attracted attention not only from anthropologists, but from mythologists and enthusiasts of the unexplained. Legends of enormous human-like beings persist in local folklore, tales passed down through generations that describe encounters with giants in the mountains. While historians approach such stories with caution, the skeletal evidence provides an eerie alignment with these myths, suggesting that legends may hold kernels of truth hidden beneath exaggeration. Even today, the cave is carefully studied and protected, yet its secrets remain largely intact. Every examination raises new questions. Were these giants a separate species, a genetic anomaly, or a previously unknown branch of humanity? Why did they vanish, leaving only bones and fragments of culture? The cave refuses to yield easy answers, standing as a testament to the limits of knowledge and the tantalizing mysteries that still lurk beneath the surface of our world. The cave's microenvironment may hold part of the answer. High humidity, stable temperatures, and mineral-rich soil appear to have slowed decay, preserving not just bones but the faint traces of skin and connective tissue. Such conditions suggest the cave was more than a natural shelter. It may have served as a controlled environment, intentionally used by the giants or others who cared for them. The organization of space inside the cave points to social structure or collective activity. Bones were clustered by size and tools were grouped according to type, implying deliberate placement. If these arrangements were intentional, they could point to rituals, familial groupings, or hierarchical structures previously unknown in hominid studies. Subtle markings on certain bones have drawn attention as potential symbolic communication. Shallow grooves, incisions, and patterns suggest practices beyond mere survival, hinting at cultural or ceremonial expression. Whether these were created by the giants themselves or by a subsequent population is uncertain, but they reinforce the cave's aura of deliberate human or human-like activity intertwined with mystery. Upon careful study, the skeletal remains have revealed microfractures and stress markers indicative of rigorous physical activity from a young age. The bone density and muscle attachment points suggest not only strength but remarkable endurance, hinting that these giants were adapted to survive in a harsh, mountainous environment. Such physiological specialization raises questions about their daily lives, diet, and social organization, and whether their physical superiority played a role in the tools and artifacts found alongside them. In addition, chemical analysis of mineral deposits on some bones has revealed traces of rare elements uncommon in the region's geology. These anomalies may have contributed to the unusually high level of preservation, yet no comparable sites exhibit the same combination of environmental stability and mineral composition. This suggests the cave was uniquely suited to protecting organic remains over millennia, a factor that may explain why evidence of these extraordinary beings has survived where almost all other traces of similar populations have vanished. In the shadows of the Caucasus, the giant's bones whisper of a world humanity has long forgotten. The Nebra sky disk, Germany. After the discovery of a bronze disk near Nebra, Germany in 1999, our understanding of prehistoric knowledge was forever changed. Embedded with gold symbols, the Nebra sky disk depicts the sun, moon, and a cluster of stars arranged in patterns that suggest sophisticated astronomical understanding. Dated to around 1600 BCE, it predates many known examples of celestial mapping, challenging assumptions about Bronze Age societies and their grasp of the heavens. The disk itself is remarkable in both craftsmanship and detail. Its bronze surface measures approximately 32 centimeters in diameter, and the gold inlays are precisely positioned to represent celestial bodies with astonishing accuracy. Concentric circles, crescent moons, and a golden sun appear alongside an enigmatic arc whose meaning continues to puzzle researchers. Each symbol is deliberately placed, indicating not only artistic skill but also mathematical or observational knowledge that seems advanced for its time. Having studied it extensively, archaeologists continue to debate the disk's purpose. Was it a calendar, a ritual object, or a tool for navigation? Some suggest it functioned as a portable observatory, used to track the solstices and equinoxes. Others interpret it as a symbolic representation of cosmology, a spiritual artifact connecting the people who made it to the heavens above. Whatever its intended use, the Nebra sky disk demonstrates that Bronze Age Europeans possessed a level of sophistication previously unimagined. Adding to its mystery is the context of the discovery. Buried alongside swords, axes, and ceremonial objects, the disk was part of a hoard hidden in a hilltop enclosure. Its placement suggests deliberate concealment, yet the reasons remain unknown. Was it hidden to protect sacred knowledge, or was it an offering to the divine? The surrounding artifacts hint at a complex culture with social hierarchies, craftsmanship, and possibly esoteric traditions, yet the disk remains the most extraordinary and enigmatic element of the find. The astronomical precision of the disk continues to astonish scientists. The arc on the edge may correspond to the horizon and the angle of the sun at the summer solstice, indicating a sophisticated understanding of celestial cycles. The alignment of stars, particularly a depiction interpreted as the Pleiades, reveals knowledge that predates similar records by centuries. Such accuracy implies long-term observation, careful record-keeping, and perhaps a mathematical framework to interpret the skies, raising questions about the intellectual capabilities of a society long considered primitive. Even the manufacturing techniques are puzzling. The gold inlays were hammered into the bronze surface with remarkable precision, and the disk's circular form is unusually uniform for Bronze Age metalworking. Microscopic analysis reveals that the tools used were refined, yet there is no written record describing their methods. This combination of skill, knowledge, and secrecy reinforces the disk's aura as an artifact that bridges practical science and ritual significance, a tangible link between humanity and the cosmos. Recent analysis of the bronze composition suggests the metal was sourced from regions hundreds of kilometers away, indicating long-distance trade networks and connections between distant Bronze Age communities. The combination of imported materials and advanced craftsmanship implies that the disk was not only an astronomical tool, but also a symbol of prestige and knowledge, possibly reserved for elites who held both scientific and social authority. Because of its enigmatic nature, the disk has inspired theories that extend beyond conventional archaeology. Some suggest it represents an early attempt to map the heavens, linking earth and sky through symbolic language. Others propose that it was a ceremonial object used to communicate with celestial forces or to synchronize agricultural cycles with cosmic events. Its existence implies a worldview in which observation, spirituality, and daily life were inseparably intertwined, a perspective rarely preserved in material culture from that period. Although it has been carefully studied, the Nebra sky disk still retains its mysteries. The exact significance of its symbols, the methods used to create them, and the reason for its burial remain unresolved. Every new investigation seems to open more questions than answers, as if the disc itself is a message from a civilization determined to leave only part of its story behind. It is a testament to ingenuity, observation, and perhaps secrecy, reminding us that even in prehistory, humans looked to the stars with wonder and intent. The context of the disc within its Bronze Age landscape suggests a society deeply attuned to natural cycles. Agricultural planning, seasonal festivals, and rituals may have been intertwined with celestial observation, giving the disc both practical and symbolic roles. Its concealment hints that such knowledge was sacred or protected, perhaps wielded only by those trained to interpret the heavens. The Nebra sky disk, some researchers argue, could have served to unite disparate groups across the landscape. The precision of its astronomical markers implies standardized observation methods and shared understanding, indicating communication and exchange of knowledge among distant settlements. In this way, the disk may represent both a scientific instrument and a cultural emblem of collective awareness. Its lasting fascination comes from the disk's silent testimony to a worldview lost to time. Its existence challenges assumptions about the intellectual capacity of Bronze Age Europe and suggests that early humans engaged with the cosmos in ways both methodical and mystical. Each observation recorded in bronze offers a faint echo of a people who gazed upward, seeking order and meaning in the stars. High-precision scans show subtle variations in the depth and alignment of the gold inlays, indicating that more than one artisan may have contributed to its creation. These faint differences suggest a coordinated effort, blending observational knowledge of the heavens with skilled metalworking, and point to a shared system of expertise rather than the work of a single individual. The Nebra sky disk, in this light, becomes not only an artifact but also a testament to collective knowledge and intellectual collaboration in Bronze Age Europe. With a quiet hum through the ages, the disk beneath the German sky traces a map no one can fully decipher. The Tartaria tablets, Romania. Long before the first written words appeared in Mesopotamia, someone pressed symbols into clay in what is now Romania. These markings, etched on 3 tiny tablets, hint at a form of communication that predates recognized scripts by centuries. The meaning remains a mystery, yet the precision and intent behind each stroke suggest minds capable of abstract thought, calculation, and record-keeping. The Tartaria tablets are more than artifacts. They are whispers from a civilization that may have been the earliest to experiment with writing. Each tablet is covered with a series of symbols that resist easy interpretation. Some resemble geometric shapes, others appear as abstract depictions of objects or concepts, and a few seem organized into repetitive sequences. Scholars debate whether these sequences represent proto-writing numerical notation or ritualistic markings. The ambiguity fuels fascination, as every new attempt at decipherment produces competing interpretations, leaving the true purpose of the tablets shrouded in uncertainty. The tablets were discovered within a Neolithic settlement, alongside ceramic vessels, ornaments, and other ritual items, suggesting that their creators engaged in complex cultural practices. Radiocarbon dating places the artifacts around 5,500 BCE, potentially predating the earliest known writing systems in the Near East. If the symbols are indeed a form of writing, they challenge the long-held belief that literacy emerged exclusively in Mesopotamia, hinting at a parallel or even independent origin of symbolic communication in Europe. Material analysis reveals that the clay used for the tablets was carefully chosen and fired to ensure durability. The symbols were pressed with deliberate care, suggesting an intent to preserve knowledge across generations. Some researchers speculate that the markings recorded economic transactions, religious rituals, or communal decisions, while others argue that they were mnemonic tools for preserving oral traditions. Whatever their original purpose, the tablets reflect a level of intellectual sophistication rarely attributed to Neolithic societies. Revealing unexpected patterns, recent microscopic studies of the incisions suggest a standardized method of marking, implying that the creators may have followed a set of rules or protogrammar. The depth and angle of each stroke appear intentional, hinting at a system that could have been taught and replicated rather than improvised. This precision implies that the tablets were part of a broader effort to communicate or preserve information systematically, offering tantalizing evidence of an early, structured approach to symbolic expression. Connections to broader cultural networks further complicate their story. Similar symbols have been found across the Danube region, hinting at the spread of ideas or shared symbolic traditions between distant communities. Yet no clear lineage connects these markings to later writing systems, leaving the Tartaria tablets as an isolated enigma. They may represent a fleeting experiment in literacy, a unique approach to recording knowledge that vanished without a trace. Indicating a local origin, chemical analysis of the clay also reveals traces of pigments, suggesting the symbols were highlighted when first made. This subtle use of colour could have added layers of meaning or emphasized certain symbols for ritual or educational purposes. The combination of material choice, craftsmanship, and possible pigmentation underscores the tablet's significance as more than mere markings. They were carefully crafted tools of communication, knowledge, or belief. The potential ritual significance of the tablets is difficult to ignore. Excavation records show that they were buried deliberately alongside items that appear ceremonial, suggesting a sacred or symbolic role. The careful placement implies that their creators recognized the tablet's importance, possibly treating them as offerings or as vessels for spiritual knowledge. Each etching, each deliberate mark carries the weight of intention, a testament to a culture attuned to the power of symbols. Interpretations continue to evolve. Linguists and archaeologists have proposed theories ranging from accounting systems to astronomical records, while some suggest the symbols convey abstract ideas of cosmology or human experience. The lack of consensus underscores the tablet's mystery. They resist being pinned down, remaining just beyond the reach of modern understanding. Their existence raises profound questions about the origins of literacy, the sophistication of Neolithic societies, and the ideas they may have attempted to preserve. Even today, the Tartaria tablets demand scrutiny. Microscopic examination reveals the precision of each incised symbol, highlighting the care with which they were crafted. The tablet's survival across millennia allows a glimpse into minds long silent, challenging assumptions about when and where humans first began to record thoughts in a tangible form. They are fragments of a lost intellectual world, a message half-formed yet powerful enough to stir imagination and wonder. The Tartaria tablets hint at a society capable of abstract reasoning far earlier than previously believed. Their creators may have been experimenting with ways to record memory, communicate instructions, or codify beliefs, revealing a sophistication often unexpected in Neolithic Europe. Each stroke carries an echo of thought, a deliberate act that bridges the gap between cognition and material expression. Beyond the symbols themselves, the tablets speak to the human desire for permanence. By firing the clay and pressing each mark with care, the makers ensured that their messages could outlast generations, a silent testimony to the importance they placed on preserving knowledge. In a time without paper, ink, or formalized scripts, these tiny objects became vessels of memory, anchoring human experience in durable form. Insights drawn from the Tartaria tablets point to connections among intellect, ritual, and communal life. Their placement alongside ceremonial objects implies that communication, spirituality, and daily life were intertwined, and that knowledge, whether practical, symbolic, or sacred, was valued and safeguarded. They stand as a reminder that the first steps toward writing were not merely functional but deeply human, shaped by curiosity, reverence, and the desire to endure. Etched in clay, the tablets whisper across millennia, leaving only questions in their silent wake. The London artifact, the Koso artifact, USA. Some objects seem impossible until they're seen. A metallic core encased in ceramic, resembling a modern spark plug, lies trapped in rock dated to hundreds of thousands of years old. Its existence defies chronology, suggesting technology far beyond what we thought ancient humans could achieve. Known as the Koso artifact, it raises questions not only about history, but about the boundaries of possibility, challenging assumptions about time, innovation, and the forgotten chapters of our world. Examination of the artifact reveals an astonishing precision. The metal is refined, smooth, and uncorroded, while the ceramic shell remains intact despite its extreme age. Every line, every groove appears intentional, suggesting functionality rather than random formation. The object is compact, elegant, and impossible to replicate using known prehistoric techniques, as if it were designed for a purpose that predates all known industrial knowledge. The surrounding concretion adds another layer of mystery, Encased in hardened mineral deposits, the artifact shows no signs of tampering or modern interference. Geological tests indicate that the rock formed over hundreds of thousands of years, embedding the object naturally. The realization that a manufactured item could be encased in such ancient rock forces a confrontation with time itself. Either the artifact predates human civilization far earlier than believed, or some unknown process placed it there. Speculation about its origin has taken many forms. Some researchers propose that the artifact represents a relic of a lost civilization, one capable of technological feats long before recorded history. Others suggest extraterrestrial involvement, pointing to its resemblance to modern ignition devices as evidence of knowledge not yet understood on Earth. Even the most skeptical investigators admit that conventional explanations fall short, leaving the artifact suspended between plausible science and the extraordinary. Every attempt to reproduce the Koso artifact fails to capture its intricacy. Modern craftsmen and metallurgists struggle to match its precise combination of metal and ceramic. Experiments demonstrate that replicating its structure without advanced tools or knowledge is nearly impossible. This alone fuels the notion that the object is not merely an ancient curiosity, but evidence of advanced engineering far beyond the expected capabilities of prehistoric humans. It is the precise alignment and evidence of heat treatment that microscopic examination uncovers, suggesting the components were engineered to withstand stress or high temperatures. These subtle details suggest a level of scientific understanding far beyond what prehistoric humans could achieve, reinforcing the possibility that the artifact was functional rather than purely symbolic. Each discovery of such minutiae deepens the enigma, hinting at technology or knowledge that has been lost to history. The artifact also hints at a purpose that remains mysterious. Its spark plug-like shape suggests energy or ignition, yet no evidence exists of engines, combustion devices, or technologies to utilize such a mechanism in prehistory. Could it have been symbolic, ceremonial, or a tool whose context is completely lost? Each possibility stretches the imagination, forcing researchers to consider scenarios that conventional history would dismiss as impossible. Even the environment surrounding the artifact speaks to its uniqueness. Found in the arid landscape near Olancha, California, the concretion is remarkably stable, preserving the artifact in perfect condition. Its isolation complicates attempts to link it to known human activity, leaving it as an orphaned enigma. The desert itself seems to guard its secrets, offering clues only to those willing to challenge the limits of time and understanding. Cataloguing the artifact with established archaeological finds only serves to deepen the paradox. If it is human-made, it predates the earliest known tools by hundreds of millennia. If it is not human-made, what force could have produced such a precise object and left it embedded in rock? Each question circles back on itself, amplifying the mystery rather than resolving it. The artifact refuses to fit neatly into any timeline or narrative, demanding reconsideration of what we consider possible. Even decades after its discovery, the Koso artifact continues to baffle and intrigue. It represents more than a single anomaly. It embodies the tension between what we know and what remains beyond our comprehension. The artifact challenges the neat timelines of human progress, hinting at forgotten knowledge, lost civilizations, or phenomena still unknown. It is a reminder that history may contain secrets that endure silently, hidden in plain sight, waiting for the curious to confront them. The Koso artifact hints at a civilization or intelligence capable of feats that challenge our understanding of prehistory. Its precision and material composition suggest knowledge of metallurgy and engineering far ahead of its supposed time, implying that ancient humans, or unknown entities, may have achieved technological sophistication long before we thought possible. Each detail raises questions about what humanity may have lost over millennia. Furthermore, the artifact embodies the delicate balance between science and speculation. Researchers are forced to reconcile the object's apparent age with its advanced features, prompting debates that range from alternative history to natural anomalies. It serves as a mirror for our assumptions about progress, showing that our chronological frameworks may not account for every possibility, and that mysteries from the past can upend conventional narratives. Over and above its scientific implications, the Koso artifact bears symbolic weight. Encased in stone, it stands as a testament to endurance, survival, and the impermanence of human knowledge. It whispers of forgotten hands, of skills and understanding that may have vanished without trace. leaving only this metallic echo for us to encounter and wonder at. Preserved for millennia within stone, the artifact waits, a metallic ghost from a forbidden past,